feeling like I'm drowning, so I'm
How are you guys? All right, excellent. Thanks for your patience. Good morning. Still not used to that. Good morning. It's September 19th. We're here for our regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. If I could ask everyone to silence your phones, please, and join me for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you so much. First on the agenda, we have an approval of the agenda, and I also would like to just state that Commissioner Fiedler has a conflict and will be joining us if and when he can, but will not be here for the beginning of the meeting. Do we have any changes or alterations to our agenda? I don't think we do.
I don't know.
No? Okay.
So I will make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, and into community informational items. Commissioner Marcella?
Sure. So we've had kind of a lot of discussion recently around childcare. The Child Care Coalition had presented to us last week on a request for funding for $80,000 to put into a fiscally sponsored fund at the community fund that will go towards helping both licensed provider and unlicensed providers with childcare in our community. So it's not limited to just operations, but hopefully that fund will encompass other things like enrollment and that kind of thing. With childcare, I've reached out to our colleagues in Summit County commissioners to gather more information on the Summit Pre-K program, which is funded through a tax that was dedicated to childcare in Summit County about a year or two ago. And they started the Summit Pre-K Fund, which that fund goes to cover tuition costs for families that enroll in early childhood education, not limited to one center, based on AMI. So looking at how that funding model works, and if that would be a funding model here that we would be able to use. It is not only for Summit County residents. So if you are a commuter, you are eligible for the funding through Summit Pre-K if your child attends Pre-K in Summit County. So there's information on their website, and I'd be happy to give any information if anybody would like additional information on that. But that's the next step in childcare work. As far as transportation, we have completed the milestones on our MMOF funding grant for our local transportation route, and are moving towards procuring a vehicle from CDOT. So we finished the milestones last week on the grant award, completed the risk assessment, and now we're moving into the procurement of the vehicle. So there's a couple of things that need to be done in the background with graphics or those kinds of things while we procure that vehicle, but moving into that piece, and then working internally with transit coordination to get scheduling and service online in the next 6 to 9 months. So I'll give a full budget update at our next regular meeting with the anticipated budget match over the next 3 years. And we'll make the same presentation to City Council next in their first October meeting. So those are my updates. I think just an important piece is on September 13th, a Texas federal judge had ruled that the DACA program is illegal. And so the decision does allow those that are already participating in the DACA program to keep and renew their status, but blocks any new applications. And so we will work with our congressional delegation to understand what that means and what the next steps are in terms of that program. So yeah, that's the updates I have for today. I guess also just to provide a quick update. I think there was an article in the newspaper this week regarding school performance frameworks, STFs, from the Colorado Department of Education. I do participate in the District Accountability Committee, which is a statutory requirement of the school district that's been resurrected. We haven't had one for about 5 years, and so I do participate there as an industry partner, and so we are working toward reviewing the school performance frameworks and budget, which are our two statutory requirements that we have to look at. So we'll take a deep dive into that and the unified improvement plans for each building and district as a whole. So I'm really excited to get into that work. We've recently just worked on our bylaws, and then I'll be able to report back as an industry partner once we get into details on those UIPs and SPFs.
Excellent, thank you. I would like to thank Adam Bay and Adam Ducharme and Jamie from the Small Business District. SBDC, I know, but for the awesome event on Friday. The Outdoor Industry Summit was really great. Lots of good partners in the basin and the valley, and it was a great gathering. The rain made a lot of changes in some logistics, but everything worked out just fine. So that was a really inspirational day, and then also a huge shout out and thank you to Brian Mavelis, Mary Palumbo, and Tim Best for their organization and goal with the Outdoor Equity Summit on Saturday. I spent all day with them there, and that was even more inspirational and a great time. Great group of folks there. So that was a great Friday and Saturday. Let's see, Brian Ehrlich and I were awarded a $150,000 grant for our next steps in our diligence and water work, doing water analysis and strategy on our infrastructure pieces that we have in the county for exercising our portfolio and engaging with an engineer to get us one step closer to being able to start administering that program and accepting applications and customers. So that's great. We will be presenting to the Colorado Water Conservation Board in November for their final approval. But we had full support from the roundtable, so that was a really good process. Great success there. Let's see, we had a work session last week with BOCC. Housing was one of those topics, and some recommendations that and discussion topics that came from staff, but would like to kind of quell fears and rumors going around that the BOCC is not in favor of terminating the IGA for the Housing Authority. But we we plan to look at the IGA and really kind of dive into roles and leveraging everybody's position and partnership in that on Wednesday night at our next Housing Authority meeting. So we'll be discussing that then, tomorrow night. Let's see, I think that is all that I have for updates. And we'll move on. Let's see. Okay, and Commissioner Fleeter's not here. So next is public comments on items not on the agenda. We have a full room today. So if you want to raise your hand, please state your name and your address. You'll have 3 minutes. And online, if anybody wants to make public comment, please try to raise your hand and or get our attention if technology is not in your favor this morning. I'll start with folks in the room. Is there anyone interested in giving public comment today? Mateo?
Online. First time. I'll go first. Yeah. So I gotta get my back for this. You just want me to present the names right there?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Mateo Lozano. I work for an organization called Voces Unidas de las Montañas. Our biggest contribution is basically getting Latinos elected into office and passing legislation that is going to provide a benefit for the Latino community. We just recently came out with a really interesting policy agenda. It's taken from a poll that polls 1,600 Latinos all across the state in every single county, including Lake County. Among these polling questions, there are all kinds of questions that are being asked, from housing inequality, economy, school, immigration. I wanted to specifically go to the first priority that polled as the most important issue affecting Latinos all across the state, and that is addressing the rising cost of living and inflation. And the second highest priority is improving wages and income. I think that's really interesting to note because those are also the two top priorities that our local advocacy group chose as their top priorities to address housing inequality and specifically raise the minimum wage. We've seen that counties around us have already raised the minimum wage. So I want to stress that we definitely urgently need to raise the minimum wage as fast as possible. Our advocacy group also went around Leadville itself and asked many of local workers if they felt that their minimum wage was adequate, or the wage that they were getting was adequate. We had an overwhelming folks tell us that the minimum wage is not enough, that they need to raise it. Right now, it should be like, they would want it to be at 18, if they could, wave the magic wand. And we got a total of 65 responses from around town. I'm sure we can get a lot more. But with just the combination of some of this data that we're getting across the state and with some of the responses that we're hearing here already with our neighbors and friends, I think it's just very clear that we should be raising the minimum wage. And I'll leave it with that. I'll let Alma speak.
Yes. Actually, I was gonna.
I'm gonna do some interpreting, so it might take a little more than 3 minutes, just have some leniency because of the interpretation.
Okay, great.
Hola, mi nombre es Alma Macías.
Hi, my name is Alma Macias.
Tengo un trabajo de medio tiempo en la iglesia de San George.
I work part-time at St. George's.
Y la importancia de, pues, que estoy aquí es porque simple y sencillamente, aparte de lo que dijo mi compañero,
The reason why I'm here, outside of the already stated things by my co-worker, Mateo,
estamos pues pidiendo esto porque simple y sencillamente lo necesitamos.
we're asking for this because quite frankly, we just need it.
Y pues entiendo que esto es un poco difícil pues para algunas personas que están aquí de entender, pero pues simple y sencillamente necesitamos que se haga.
And I know this might be a little bit difficult for some people to kind of understand this or the why, but just quite put simply, we just need it to be done.
Y pues cada día la vida es más difícil para algunos de nosotros.
And every day, life just keeps getting harder for some of us.
And just to be perfectly clear, she's commenting also on the minimum wage or another, okay.
Y vamos a hacer claro, estás comentando para el sueldo. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone, Christian?
Hi, I'm Christian. I'm here on behalf of myself, and I kind of wanted to piggyback on that. I presented the idea of raising the minimum wage by $1.60, starting this year if possible, knowing that we're obviously at the end of this year, might have to wait till next year. But that would increasing the minimum wage by $1.60 every year for 4 years will increase it to $20.05 an hour. This is around what the cost of living is right now. Using what we best have access to, what tools we best have access to, it's about $39,000 for a living wage locally, meaning that you're able to afford rent at a reasonable price, you're able to afford all the other things at a reasonable price and still have some money left over for emergencies. So 39,000 is what is required for a cost of living here. We're in a situation where most of our organizations, most of our nonprofits and local governance pays around what we're saying we should be paying by 2027 if we go through the 4-year. However, there are things that we just have no control over, and that would be the bigger corporations. When we talk about this, we're talking about Taco Bell, we're talking about Safeway, we're talking about Sinclair's or Saturdays, all of which have expressed they cannot raise their wages unless there is a local minimum wage put in place to raise it for them, because they have no power over their corporate part of their building. It also has a big impact for restaurants. A lot of our restaurant workers do not make quite enough to continue living here without another job. It's just the reality of the situation, and it's true for anyone making around that $15 an hour area. Unfortunately, obviously this could be very difficult for a lot of our small businesses to meet. And at the same time, there's a leniency of 4 years to get there, and if they have to increase prices, I mean, so be it. We've been increasing prices for everything anyways, like this isn't new. And I don't think that the increase of prices is gonna be so astronomically high that it's gonna have a negative impact on our community, because again, our prices have already increased and they've already had that negative impact on our community. And wages have not gone up on these sectors to justify that price increase. So I'm asking for their sake that it would make sense to implement a type of gradual increase for minimum wage for the people who do not have the control over their businesses. Thank you.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So you're asking for like a city and county-wide ordinance?
Yeah, I personally will be committed to pushing that in the city, but I would love to do it jointly ordinance. And I will definitely be presenting that today at City Council.
Also, just quick comment, not to get into discussion on public comment items, but there's, I have seen, like on the Front Range, other restaurants and whatnot, taking other strategies and adding like a % onto their bills to pay minimum wage that you can opt out of, and I would guess that most people don't notice that on their bill and don't opt out. So there might be, you know, more than one way to address this as well. But, okay, thank you for your comments. Any other public comment, interest in the room or online? Before we go into our agenda items.
I don't see anybody.
I'm not seeing anyone.
No, I don't either.
All right. Not seeing any hands raised or hearing anyone online. We're gonna move into our new business items. All right, first on our agenda, we have discussion and consideration of the appointment of our Lake County assessor and a swearing in. As many of you know, our last assessor has resigned. We appointed Mark Wadsworth as our interim assessor. And our county manager and attorney went through a process that we've gone through with our other vacant elected seats in requesting letters of interest from the community, vetting those, conducting interviews, and I believe we have a recommendation today. And if there's anything else that you want to add to kind of the investment and the, you know, levity of the or gravity rather of the process and making this appointment, then I'll open that up to Commissioner Marcelo.
If you can just give us a synopsis of the process, then that would be great.
Sure. So after the resignation of Assessor Martinez, the board did appoint Mr. Wadsworth as the interim Lake County assessor. From there, we opened it up for the public or for anyone to submit a letter of interest to become Lake County assessor. And then from there, the county attorney and myself conducted interviews, and then from there we did some written responses to gauge candidates' knowledge and ability to complete the job. For those of you that don't know, in the totality of Lake County government, like the assessor plays a key role in the valuation of properties, and then how we assess properties and value them, and then come to taxes and Lake County revenues and all that to fund various things. So it's a very important office. We're very thankful that Mark hung on through the transition when he didn't have to. He accepted the deputy assessor job. Then I believe a few days later, his former boss resigned. It was a surprise to him, so thank you for hanging on. But yeah, with that, I believe Chris and I we are in concurrence on recommending that Peleg Mark Wadsworth be appointed as Lake County Assessor. And he is here with his family, and we do have the Chief Judge of the 5th Judicial District, Paul Dunkelman, here to conduct the swearing-in ceremony. So if we can, or Mark or Judge, if you have anything, I do have these for you. If you want to add
I think we
anything.
need to, yeah,
We need a formal motion.
Oh, and
we do,
motion,
yes.
yes.
For the appointment.
Yes, right.
Any additional motion and any additional discussion by the board?
Sure, I just wanna start by saying thank you to Mark for stepping in. And then thank you also to the assessor's office staff, both current and past. They had some pretty monumental tasks in front of them to complete, and so I don't want that work to go unnoticed, and just express my appreciation and gratitude for them, for the work that they had done up to this point. So thank you for that, and I'm just thankful that you were able to assist with interviews, and I think we're ready for our next step.
I have to thank you for saying that, echo that sentiment to the assessor's office. And thank Mark for coming in on, right at the beginning of the process of our protest period, and the board sitting at the County Board of Equalization. That was a tough period of time to jump in on, but I think we are really fortunate to have Mark have retained his practice and have that personal passion for the work. Really lucky to have somebody who understands and gets right into the details of the modeling, and understands the regulations set forth by the state, and how to apply those locally here, and you were a huge help through, and as we continue the extended period for the Board of Equalization timeline and protest period through November 1st. But thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay,
Do you want to make a motion?
Sure.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Peleg Mark Wadsworth as the Lake County Assessor, effective immediately.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Again, a big thank you. All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mark, thank you. And I would also just like to comment, I think that would have been a unanimous
Jeff
vote
here,
with
yeah.
Jeff, Commissioner Fiedler here as well. But Judge Dunkelman, if you want to lead us in a little brief swearing in ceremony, come on up, Mark. Mark, do you accept?
Yes.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
ready.
Excellent. Well,
I'll keep it brief, but there's a few words I want to say, and Mark, you deserve to have a full black robe.
excellent.
This is an important day. Yeah. So just a few words. Let me introduce myself. I'm Judge Dunkelman. I'm the Chief Judge of the Judicial District, which is Lake County, Clear Creek County, Summit, and Eagle. I sit in Eagle County. What the Chief Judge means is that I'm the administrative head of the Judicial District, in addition to my regular docket. I'm the administrative head of the Judicial District, which includes the court side and the probation side. When Tim reached out and asked whether he could have a judge present, I was very happy that it worked on my schedule, because it's important for me to have connection with every county, and it's hard because I have a regular docket I have to do, but It's important for me to be able to spend some time in Lake County with the community, with my staff. So it was great that it worked out for me. And today is a big day. It really is one of the most important things we do as judges. It's my privilege, it's my honor to do it. But when I do it, you have great public servants, public officials in this room. It's a huge responsibility you take on when you're a public servant, when you say, I'm going to do this job. This community puts a lot of responsibility, a lot of trust that you will do the job well, that you will look after their interests. You become the steward of your community. So thank you for stepping up and taking that responsibility. It takes a lot of courage as well. Because you put yourself out there in the public eye, and a lot of thanks comes with it, and that's great to hear, but it's not always thanks. There's a lot of criticism that comes when you put yourself out there, and that's the nature of the job. And so thank you for having the courage to step up to a spot that was really needed. Thank you for stepping up and saying, I'm going to be the steward of my community. I'm going to look after this community. Thank you for what you're doing for Lake County. With that said, if you would raise your right hand. I, Peleg Mark Wadsworth,
I, Peleg Mark Wadsworth,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws
and the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and the laws
and the laws
of the state of Colorado.
of the state of Colorado.
I affirm
I affirm
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
perform the duties
perform the duties
of the office
of the office
of Lake County Assessor
of the County Assessor
upon which
upon which
I am about to enter
I'm about to enter.
to the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability,
I enter this obligation
I enter this obligation
freely
freely
and without reservations.
and without reservation.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sign right there. You can sign another one right there as well, I think.
Bet you haven't seen that name before.
I have not, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being
Much
here, we
appreciated.
appreciate it.
Thanks. See you, Jess. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
So thank you for letting me spend a little time with you. I'll let you get back onto your meeting.
Awesome.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Very good. Okay. On to the second item on our agenda, which is the discussion and consideration of a non-exclusive revocable license agreement regarding access and use of county property. We have the lead here, the county attorney, and maybe also Ann, but
Yeah, I
No?
think this
Okay.
is something, so we had on this, and this is for, Aaron Michael and Aaron Elizabeth Wester. Their attorney Benjamin Maresca, and excuse me, I'm probably butchering your last name, Maresca is online with us as well, okay? Mr. Maresca and I have been negotiating this over some period of time. They originally came forward and asked for an easement from the county, but given that the county is considering all of the different properties they own and what might be the highest and best use for that, we've kind of moved away from granting easements in these instances. And this is to allow the Westers access to essentially a landlocked parcel that they purchase and wish to build a home on. And right now, the most viable access to their property is across a parcel of land that's owned by Lake County. It's, I don't know if you want to pull up, there is a graphic, they are in the process of having a survey done. There is a graphic I can kind of show you.
Which
the
one, this
big
one?
bottom
The
one, the
bottom-
graphic,
bottom one?
yeah. It'll kind of
Graphic?
show you
Sure.
where their requested access is. It's that
Okay.
kind of squiggly blue line. So as you
Okay.
can see, yes, the squiggly blue line, the red boundaried parcel is the county's property. And so what they're looking to do is to access that road 6C, I think it is, in order to be able to put in a driveway to their property. They've already been granted an easement by the intervening property owner there. It's William G. Rayner and Jeannie T. Rayner across their property. And so they're just looking to extend the access to allow them to put in a driveway to access their property and build their home. So we have negotiated the terms on it. The agreement has been reviewed by Michael Irwin of Public Works, and he has indicated no concerns or issues with it in its current form. So at this point in time, it'd be my recommendation to accept and approve the agreement as presented to you.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on it.
I think I only have one question for Michael. So the red line is the outline of the county property, and this doesn't encroach on the landfill boundary or any potential growth for the landfill. That would create any problem into the future, does it?
No, I asked
Okay.
him specifically about that there, because of it's kind of an unusual shape for there.
Okay.
It's at this point in time, because you can see how far down that
Mhm.
boundary line goes, he doesn't anticipate that it would interfere with any of their use of that parcel going forward.
And if it does, then we
Well,
come
and
back
that's-
to the
that's-
conversation
exactly.
about.
Okay.
And so one of the things about that is it's purposefully called a, non-exclusive revocable license agreement, and that's because no one has a crystal ball as to how the county might want to use its property in the future. The one thing that is somewhat unusual about this agreement that the Westers requested was that in the event in the future that the county does need to terminate this access, that we work with them to try to find an alternate access. Or if, in the event the county, for some unforeseen reason, decides it wants to sell part of this parcel, that they would have the access across, that they have a right of first refusal to buy it.
Sure.
So that way they can preserve their access. Because obviously they've made an investment in the property, and they're gonna make an even bigger one in terms of building a home there. So they want to make sure that they can preserve access. And my understanding, they've talked to other potential adjacent property owners. It's just not viable to go up and around the county's
Yeah.
property for that.
Okay.
And we had a work session on this.
Yes.
Several months
Sometime
ago, I
ago.
can't even
Yeah.
remember, but.
I think it was
um,
almost this time, and maybe
Yeah.
this time last year, that
Yeah.
we started talking about this, and it just took some time for us to work through the specifics of it, negotiate the terms of this agreement.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, no, not commenting on the length of time, just,
Well, no, we
just
did.
making it known that this is, we've had this conversation before.
yeah, it's been a lengthy process. I agree.
I don't have any questions for you on this. I think this,
Yeah, I don't have any
sense,
additional questions on that either.
all the terms are reasonable, and yeah, that's no problem. All right, I'll entertain a, motion to approve the non-exclusive revocable license agreement regarding access. Oh, do we have? Sure. Go ahead, Mr.
Chris got it. It's Maresca. And so, yeah, I just wanted to ask one quick question on this. As Chris mentioned, we were in the process of getting the driveway surveyed, and I wanted to request, since the terms of this are for a revocable license, and the Westers aren't necessarily getting a property interest. We were wondering if we could identify the location of the access via an approved driveway permit once we actually submit it, and kind of forego doing the survey, just in the event that we know where the property's at. And it's just, it would be an additional expense to survey the location, and we just wanted to make that request. I think that we're okay with the agreement as is. We just wanted to make that quick request.
Yeah, I think we had looked at that possibility, and I think that it's to probably both parties' best interest to have the survey done, and especially given the additional terms that are in there for alternate access and a right of first refusal going forward, that I think it makes sense to specifically identify what it is that is being granted for the access. And I'll let you
Yeah, and
speak to that.
I would just couple that with that the driveway permit doesn't look at any, it has no location verification associated with it. It's simply looking at the construction of the driveway and accessibility for safety and welfare. So the driveway permit wouldn't be an appropriate tool to even substitute for a survey. It doesn't accomplish the same thing.
Okay, and I see our Public Works Director has unmuted. Michael, do you have a comment on that as well?
No, I have no problem. I suggest that he does get a driveway permit because he's gonna want it hopefully
Oh,
plowed
yeah.
to that point, because we don't plow to that point.
Yeah,
We don't go that far.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the building permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just Mr. Maresca, just for clarity, that in addition to the building permit, you'll need the driveway permit as well.
No, absolutely, and we understand that, Chris.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the non-exclusive revocable license agreement regarding access and use of county property between the Board of County Commissioners and Aaron, Michael, and Aaron Elizabeth Wester as the landowners.
May I suggest a friendly amendment to that?
Sure,
If
please.
you could make it conditioned upon the receipt of the survey that's been discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll add to that, as the landowners, condition on the receipt of the survey received as conditioned and discussed.
So moved.
All right, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can move on. Yep. All right. Let's see, item 3. We have discussion and consideration of a community planning and development license encroach review. Attorney Carol Bellhouse has prepared a request and a license to encroach for property owners William and Sharon Bland. The property owners are seeking legal recognition and permission under certain stipulations for the existing structure at 1319 Poplar Street, built in approximately 1888, to encroach into the 14th Street right-of-way from the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Ann Schneider is the lead on this item, our Community Planning and Development Director.
Thank you. We were contacted by Carol Bellhouse as counsel for the Blands, William and Sharon Bland, for a property located at 1319 Poplar. And this is a historic encroachment. Like the description within the agenda says, this property has been there since our records date, which is 1888. And it does have a 4-foot encroachment into 14th Street. However, they are looking at selling these properties, and this will become a title issue for them, that the property encroaches into the right-of-way. And so what they are asking for is the revocable license to encroach from the county, not dissimilar to the one that I brought forward to you may remember on 12th Street. And so what it will allow to go on the record is that the county allows this encroachment, and the agreement calls for it not to continue in the event that the structure would be removed. But I'll keep that very simple since I have 2 attorneys present who can get into any other specific details on it. I do have the survey if you'd like to see the encroachment. And then I did, I think it's in your packet, but I have the agreement as well. And then I think Carol is,
Yeah,
with
she's
us?
there.
Okay.
Yes, I am here. I'm here.
Hi, Carol.
And
So-
just
encroachment, it's
I
right
would
there on
just,
this
I would just
side.
echo what Ann said, that given the historic nature of this and the terms that Ms. Bellhouse proposed, including the fact that if the structure is removed, that this essentially goes away. Any rebuilding on that parcel would have to avoid the encroachment going forward.
And this is Poplar and
14.
what's that?
14th
14.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Any comments from Public Works on this?
No, because it's revocable and, you know, the only thing we would put there is, probably a sidewalk in the future. And I think we could still do that with that encroachment there, but if we had to, we would, you know, remove the court or have to remove the court.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I don't have any questions.
I don't either. Okay.
Carol, do you have any comments? We don't have any.
No, it's just this, it's been there since 1888, and it's just a little sliver of the building, and then the stairs that were installed for an emergency exit, which is per code. And Sharon and Bill are listening in. They couldn't come in on Zoom because they're in Mexico, but they're listening through my phone for what we're doing. So they're saying hi. Chris Floyd has approved this and set this up for me. So I think it's just exactly what you did for the McLeans last year on 12th Street.
Yep. All right, no, it doesn't seem that there's any questions from the board on this. Happy to entertain a motion or tee one up for you.
Sure. I will make a motion that we approve the request and license to encroach for property owners William and Sharon Bland at 1319 Poplar to encroach into the 14th Street right-of-way as a revocable encroachment as discussed today.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. And item 4 on our agenda, discussion of the off-highway vehicle or OHV moratorium and consideration of a potential extension of this moratorium. And again, Ann Schneider, our Director of Community Planning and Development, is here to talk to us about this.
Thank you so much. CPD had a great meeting this morning with our collaborators on this, Sheriff's Department and pros. And we will be reaching out to Michael as we move forward into several different aspects of this work. Definitely the road use guide, but we identified other areas this morning that we really need to bring Michael in to round out the work that to bring this to fruition. What we'd like to ask is consideration for a little bit more time. This is set to expire October 7th. And the scope of work will not be completed within that time frame. However, we want to be very mindful of the impact that this work has on the outcome of all operators in the county, and both private and commercial. And so we want to be pretty conservative in our ask for an extension. But I'd like to just kind of talk about real quick the deliverables that we see coming out of the moratorium and some work that will happen, what we feel as a further work in progress after we lift the moratorium. So right now, what we really want to do is fine-tune the special use permit. We'll get that back into everybody's kind of queued up to revisit that. We have a draft out and we just want to make sure it resonates with the board and beats the goals that we want to use for permitting. And then we want to, we're in the midst of working on enforcement and the different methods of doing that. Also, really looking at our key areas in the community that motorized private use is not appropriate, and some methods and recommendations to move forward. We're also going to
Commercial, sorry, yeah. Private being commercial,
I'm
And
sorry,
pub-
public use.
public use, okay,
Public.
okay.
So public use, in areas, we've identified like 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th Street in the Mineral Belt Trail are areas that we see, public OHV use. And so we're gonna come forward with some recommendations that have been vetted through, law enforcement and CBD, and just some recommendations on how to mitigate those areas.
Okay.
We've also been talking about youth programming, and kind of a juvenile diversion program as well, so that if it was brought forward to us through the listening session that there is a concern about youth on OHV and really wanting to reach out and educate them about safety and proper use of OHV. So Adam Bay and Heath Speckman and myself have really been working on talking about some youth programming that would come as some further work after the end of the moratorium. So that is a program that we want to start now. It's going to take some technical expertise in getting that up and running. So we'll speak to it in the ordinance a bit at the end of the moratorium, but that'll be some future work that's going to continue. Finalizing the road use guide is really critical to being done at the end of the moratorium. This will be the transparent use guide that we can inform the public and commercial users, and it will help the board in making decisions on the special use agreement as well as conditional use permits. We're gonna be reviewing all the state statutes regarding OHV, but this morning in talking with Keith, I did discover that really a lot of that, other than registration, is left up to the local jurisdiction. That really has brought about what we believe would be a great idea in a local registration or local licensing program, where we kind of address some of the disparity that we heard from commercial users between out of area outfitters that come into the county that don't have to go through the same vetted process that our commercial users here within the county do. So we'd like to kind of address that. It also helps with identification and just a number of different goals that we think that registration would do. We believe that that is going to take us a year in development, so we're not asking for that obviously to be completed within the time that we would look to lift the moratorium, but we are hoping to maybe either do something mid-cycle 2024 or by January 2025. We'd like to spend some more time. We'd like to look at kind of the cost recovery of that, and the benefit that it might have in road maintenance. And so we just think that that's going to take more time than we want to prohibit any new outfitting and guiding licensing. So that would be something that we'd be looking to do outside of the moratorium. We are in the process of working with all current outfitter and guides in the county to come under conditional use permit. And then, of course, we really need that special use permit to come to fruition before we can lift the moratorium, so that you have a vetted tool and process for looking at county roads, since your zoning does not provide you with that. So those are kind of the goals that we want to bring forward, and the work that will continue on after we lift the moratorium. Also, in speaking with PROS this morning, wanted his blessing before we suggested to the Board of County Commissioners that, and the county manager, and this will be a further discussion, but we do see the merit in eventually this whole OHV management and recreational aspect of motorized recreation being more managed within PROS than CPD. Tim and I had already talked about that a little bit. And so there is an interest within PROS to look at that as well, which might also result in kind of a capacity study. As you may want to look down the road after these regulations and process have been developed at sustainability of use, And so that might be better served by the direction of pros. And so, anyway, just wanted to let you know that we've had those kind of conversations, and so that would, again, might be outside of the deliverables with lifting the moratorium.
Okay.
So that, all that in mind, what we'd really like to have done is the special use permit done, the road use guide done, and the ordinance finalized with all of the right enforcement. And so to do all of those, we think that we will need at least until the middle of November. Again, we're trying to be very mindful of the impact of the moratorium and not having the special use permit. So if that, we'd like longer, but we can make it a priority and get this done by then to just be cognizant of the impact that this is having while we don't have these tools in place.
And so your request would be mid-November or longer, but that at which point all those pieces you named will be finalized ideally, and then the expectation will be for winter commercial users to have gone through or to initiate a special use permitting process for this coming season.
That's what we really wanna, what we're trying to be mindful of with the special use permit is that we'll have that tool in time for this season.
Yeah.
And so that's why, we will prioritize it, and it is a desire of the board, and for the middle of November.
Seems very quick.
It does seem a little quick, but we also understand what this, the impact, so.
Right.
We'll take December 1.
Yeah.
But I, again, we wanna be mindful, so whatever is the board
Yeah.
believes is the best outcome, then we'll meet that expectation. And again, that'll be the special use permit, the use guide, and the ordinance.
The other thing I would suggest too is there's also the possibility that if you extend it through until December 1, if you finish these things early, you can always come back and ask for it to be lifted early.
That's
That's
right.
it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, have we also looked at the count, like how many, scheduling that between all, like across all departments, and then work sessions with the board? Is that how you're envisioning
Yes.
that working?
So we are already talking about trying to kind of piggyback on our Adam and Michael have a standing meeting on Thursdays, and I do with Michael as well. And so we're kind of trying to piggyback on and just kind of, so where we have standing meetings, then we're already collaborating together for, we're just trying to really try not to have to schedule additional meetings. We're gonna take advantage of times that we're already in collaboration with one another to try to kind of vet this and perfect it. And I do know that mapping, Bryce can't be here today, but he and Tristan, I think, have the map ready to just go into engagement with Michael on the classification. And so, we've got quite a bit queued up and ready to bring forward. Probably the biggest would be requesting a work session on a special use permit to make sure that it meets the board's expectations.
Would that be joint with the planning commission, or what would that entail?
We could absolutely put it on a regular meeting. We could even look at it as quickly as the 25th, because we have a regular meeting on the 25th, where we were gonna kind of revisit a couple different things. So we could put it on the agenda as quickly as that.
Okay. I mean, I was also envisioning joint conversations, but maybe not, or maybe that final conversation diving into the road use guide and making sure we're actually accounting for current conditions, ability and capacity and financial ability to maintain or address, or, from Public Works' perspective of impacts on the county roads that would be a part of the system, or maybe a part of any regulation guide for both that public and private use. Yeah, I would definitely too, I would like to see some of the, some language contemplated, included in the ordinance still on some of those, like what types of vehicles are allowed on the snowmobile clubs, groomed facilities. Because it is clear and has been a clear request of theirs as the entity that provides that. I call it a facility, to minimize or prohibit that commercial use of certain vehicles because of the severity of the impact, with that kind of day in and day out use. So I would like to kind of revisit that conversation as well. And then I'm definitely interested in that road use guide and kind of talking about the designation of the roads and what we do or don't have the authority to do, because I think every current operating outfitter I am anticipating having, they might have a lot of work to do on if they want to continue what was presented to us as their kind of typical routes, seasonal routes. Seems like there's a lot of work to do with some private landowners to continue that extent of operating.
And what we would hope to do is make sure that the special use permit kind of builds in the ability. We want to make sure that you have the matrix and on the cost and the road impact. I do think that part of this registration, we would be looking at really vetting impact cost and contributing to that. And also, I am going to see if our fee study, right now, we're in the middle of, can look at the special use permit. Because I would say that that is a fee that could be adjusted depending on analysis of road impact. Right now, we can look at it and the administrative cost of administering a permit and make sure that it's in line. But I think there's a couple different tools that you will have to look at recovery and impact. So in the cost analysis, both from a registration standpoint as well as a special use permit. So both of those tools would be able to be used and then adjusted accordingly, on an annual basis or whatever it would be.
Okay. If we shoot for the goal of December 1 or before that, but we don't hit that, are we able to extend that again? I mean, just coming, okay.
As long as it's under 6 months, I can do that. You don't have to go through
Okay.
the whole new process.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm in favor of doing our best to hit that goal, but realize things can happen.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Do we need to open up for any public comment on the topic here for the extension?
Good.
And you certainly
Open
can, there's no
Sure.
problem with that.
Yeah, I'll open up for public
That's
comment
it.
on, okay, online. Looks like Mr. Marsh, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I don't mean to press this too much, but November 21st is a bit late. I've not just my current clients, I represent, as you know, a local outfitter in this, but other clients, actually, I represented several local outfitters in this. At that point, people have started to begin their hiring, they've started to begin their grooming procedure. Like we're almost, if not into the season, right up against it. So the idea that there'd be a special use permit that we haven't actually seen yet and know if we qualify is already a setup for some significant damages. Should it come out right at December 1st, right before the holidays, which is when everyone makes the bulk of their revenue, and then it might suddenly disqualify people is really worrying to me. Like I think the ship may have sailed for this season, to be honest. There's gonna be, I think, a hailstorm if this usage map and the special use permit come out and it suddenly curtails everybody's, or even completely hamstrings a couple outfitters usage. And then but they've been hiring and they've been budgeting and they've been planning for a different type of operation they're no longer allowed or permitted to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, any time in November is not good for that. Like, people move out here to become sled guides, like after they graduate from college, and then if you get 15 dudes from New Hampshire out here, and then suddenly the special use permit and the usage guide say we can only run 5 trips a week, then I'm sure I know there's other outfitters in the room that will back me up on this. That's pretty sticky.
Response to that,
Yeah,
or-
I would say that I think we're very cognizant of the potential impact that the permit has on commercial operations. And we can do our best to have it available. It sounds like even if we had it ready in October, it might not meet Mr. Marsh's desires for the preparation that is needed for commercial users. And the moratorium, I will say, that we're asking for the extension though today on is just for no conditional use permits for any new. So it's really where the special use guide is kind of a different issue than what we're asking for on the moratorium extension. But during that, so the special use guide is another tool that we're delivering for the county to be able to regulate use on county roads. So until we have that accepted as a process, then we don't have a regulation on it. I guess that's what I would venture to
And there's
say.
nothing to say that, I mean, we might be able to finalize the documentation, the process, but there's nothing to say that we can't kind of negotiate on a case-by-case basis through this upcoming season either, and that couldn't be part of the conversation on a case-by-case basis per outfitter. I also would say, I mean, I think in the previous conversations, and as I stated earlier, a lot of these outfitters, while most of them have been operating pretty responsibly, I think a lot of them understand very well that there's a lot of private land use and things that have not, that they've been, for lack of a better phrase, like getting away with. And I think that it's, that's not the county's, the kind of last bad actor that really like kind of blew all that up is what, and caused like that final kind of like culmination of user conflict and community outcry and pushback is, I don't think any of this is a surprise, and I would have expected any of those outfitters to kind of be making alternative plans based on a number of our last conversations. I also want to remind everybody, I mean, we are talking about too winter and summer, which are very different uses, can be very different impacts, can have very different routes and expanse of where these operations are occurring within the county and or on federal lands. We're talking about not just motorized, but maybe electric bikes and other kind of areas that we just want to make sure we kind of have an understanding of what that demand and volume and potential could look like, and where the thresholds are that we kind of have to put in place to need to have that conversation and set those expectations for anyone interested in an outfitter or guide operation. And yes, it's certainly exploding, and the interest is there, and we need to have something in place at some point. But I think we can have those conversations on how that kind of gets transitioned in or maybe applied to folks currently operating.
Excuse me, Commissioner Mudge, the comment was made though by the planning commission that have a goal of having that special use permit and the map in place prior to this coming snow season, the coming sled season, you know, and then you yourself made some comments about what type of vehicles are going to be on there. And so if there are to be restrictions that are going to come in at the end of November that might affect my client or any other operator, and that's the goal, that's just too late to put restrictions, whether or not we're adding new operators or not. I think we need to be on record having protested that. You understand that the operators run a lot of different types of machines. The operators will need time to have their machines tested, depending on what curriculum you give us. I don't buy the sincerity of that.
I think we understand that, and what I'm trying to say is that there should be, I anticipate that conversation of implementation of any new regulations put in place.
So that's going to happen, like in November?
Well, the documentation, the decisions, the goal is to have those decisions made by November, but we can certainly have those conversations on how they apply to each outfitter, putting those into place or transitioning into and adapting to new expectations.
Right, I would
but it's like we need the criteria before November is what I'm saying.
So I would just echo what you are saying, Sarah. In this is staff replying today to the board's desire to provide these tools. The actual implementation and when they will become in place for users will be a decision made by the board. So the question today and what we're bringing forward is the scope of work that the board has given to CPD to do, and we're saying we need more time with that. It sounds like the board's desire to implement those tools and resources that their staff will bring forward will be their decision to make when we bring those forward. So today, all we're asking for is additional time to bring those tools forward.
It's reasonable to say that like Ski Cooper ordered the diesel for their lift machines like back in probably April for this season. If the board wants to implement some of these restrictions, but we got to know now or never. It's going to blow up everybody's ability to staff, budget, or otherwise. And I don't think the board wants to kill this industry in our county because we're one of the only ones that has it. But we need to be on record having protested this is November 21st being way too late to potentially implement a new special use permit that we haven't seen yet and a new roadmap that we don't know what it is yet.
No, understood. Any other comments online?
Team did have her hand
saw a
up,
hand
and Peter Day also has a comment in the chat, but I don't know.
Yes. Hi there. Thank you, Alex. Yes, I would echo what Alex just said, and I think it will be extremely helpful for us as outfitters to understand what is coming to us and what is county expecting us to do at what time, because we cannot proactively be prepared for something we don't know. I know we had conversation about this since last year, but things has changed drastically back and forth between multiple work sessions. So how would we prepare for something that might or might not happen that we don't know, we have not seen for this coming snow season? We have people that we hire, we have machines we already purchased, we have commitments that we made to our people, just like the county is trying to figure out the financial and feasibility to implement this process. I would just really love the clarification from the county regarding when is this going. I understand, it might be November 21st, but my main concern is when would the county expect the outfitters to comply with this new regulation that we have not seen at all?
And if we don't get our regulations till November 21st, how do we start taking bookings for Christmas vacation? I mean, that's when the magic happens, And that's when you torpedo all these businesses, is if you can't make reservations for Christmas break, because we don't know whether we're viable or not.
Again,
We already have a few $100,000 in machine that we ordered. So I would love to just get clarification from the county as soon as possible regarding what does Commissioner Mudge mean about the type of machines, and what's the reasoning behind the type of machines Commissioner Mudge is referring to on the snow use, and what exactly are the concerns and proofs and study has done in order to drive these kind of decisions.
And can you just clarify for us again what your request for the extending the moratorium is?
Absolutely. So the three things that we need to finalize is the special use permit. There is a draft out. It has been given to, I think, most everyone. Interested parties, happy to give it to anyone that would request it. And finalizing the road use guide, and then the final draft of the ordinance. Those are the three things that are still left. The mapping is done on the road use guide. Now we're just meeting with Public Works to do the classification and then come back for a work session on that and a special use permit. So we're asking for a work session on the those two items, those two tools. We're just asking for the scope of work left to do there. Also, I can respond to Mr. Day's question in the chat, and we continue to have an outreach public. I'm not sure how many more opportunities that we're going to go out for listening on this. Certainly, we can look to the board for direction on that, but we do have compiled quite a bit of public input. We continue to have the availability on the website to come and post more information if you do have more thoughts and concerns. And I'm not sure that we had anything scheduled yet for a town hall or any kind of listening session at the end. But we can certainly work with the board to determine if you'd like to have a town hall meeting on these when these items are ready.
Okay. So can you just clarify? I just want to make sure like these guys have all seen a copy of the draft SUP.
I have sent it to several. I believed I had given it to Ting, but I'm happy to send it over if she does not have it.
I have not seen a copy of it. I would appreciate a copy.
Sure.
And please also copy Alex Marsh on the email. Thank you.
Every request I've made on behalf of my clients, which include Ting, to general counsel or to the county attorney's been denied, saying it didn't need to be disclosed yet.
I take exception to that. That was not, if that was done, it was done at a point where it wasn't ready, hadn't been prepared for disclosure yet. And I understand Ms. Schneider saying that she has a draft that has been provided. If your clients haven't received it, sounds like she's going to send it out again so that y'all have the opportunity to review it.
Somehow we, like, after making several requests when it wasn't ready, it didn't get sent to us when it was.
I'm happy to send it today. We'll send it over immediately following this meeting.
Yep. All right, go ahead.
I'm here on behalf of White Mountain Snowmobile Tours, and we have also not received a copy of that.
I'm happy to give it to you today.
Peter Day says in the chat, will there be an additional opportunity for public engagement? I think that was previously promised. A town hall session would be great.
And Anne, yes, worked a little bit on organizing that towards the end of this new timeframe. That would be great. Any other public comment?
It's just too early. Like November 21st will tank everyone. Like you can ruin
Alex,
everyone's
we
business.
hear you, and we're getting, that's a deadline to get these, the expectations and these documents finished. And I suspect, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I suspect that there'll be long conversations with those special use permitting on every outfitter's ability to meet these expectations and what that timeline looks like. I don't think that we're saying, Commissioner Marcelo, please chime in, that November 1st, these will be done and all expectations all regulations are, the expectation is that all regulations are able to be met by all outfitters immediately. I don't think that is the expectation.
No, I was gonna say, speaking for myself and only as one commissioner, I can't imagine my fellow board members or myself being supportive of a regulation and saying that it becomes immediately effective, and if you can't meet that regulation, we will terminate your ability to operate a business in Lake County. Because we are very mindful of economic development and the role that that plays in the county. And so being mindful of striking the balance between our outdoor and environmental resources with our business resources. And so speaking for myself, would not put a business owner in a position where you have to meet that regulation November 1st, or if not, you have to close your doors.
Just so it annoys you in your sleep, comments were made about implementation of that special use permit and that roadmap by that deadline. So that's why I'm sort of harking on that. So as long as we're just talking about them instead of implementing them.
I mean, also remind you, the easy thing to do, and this came up last year, would be to revoke all ability to ride on county roads. That would have been the easy thing to do. We did not do that. That's what every other county in Colorado has either done or is doing, because that's the easy thing to do. And to be quite honest, I received a lot of feedback from the motorized use community to just do that and make it simple, because they're tired of dealing with it and getting the bad rep, but we didn't do that. And so we're taking these steps, and I think that action in itself shows that we're trying to make this a iterative process to be reasonable with timeline and compliance.
With all due respect, Commissioner Mudge, if that were the easy thing to do, you would have done it. I think the reason we're still talking about this is because, like, there's a lot of business involved, all right? So
That's
just
not
gonna say that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Marsh. I think you had your public comment time. Appreciate it.
I think there's one more. Did you have a comment as well?
I was just seeing, when is the next day that this is all gonna be discussed? You're saying like potentially November 1st, I heard December 1st. When would be the next time that we could address it all again?
So are you both from White Mountain?
Yeah.
You can come down and talk to staff anytime. Our office is downstairs. You can come talk to us anytime you want.
And it sounds like staff internally is gonna have some conversations, and we'll schedule at least a few work sessions, I think, public work sessions with the board, to bring those findings and recommendations to the board and further discuss and kind of work through the development of those.
Yeah.
And we'll post them online, and
yes,
yeah, I mean, those will be posted not only on CPD's site and the OHV specific portion, but on our Board of County Commissioner planners. You can sign up for those to get emailed to you at the end of each week.
That and the Planning Commission planners.
Yeah.
So you can sign up to get those emailed to you so that you will see those come through before they're on there. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay. All right, so we need to determine what the date is that we're really aiming for here. I think December 1 is fine, and if you can meet that earlier goal, great. I do think that as we talk, I would anticipate as we talk about have that first public meeting, and also I guess would request that staff in your kind of interdepartment conversations be pretty cognizant of like what a reasonable time to comply with any regulations proposed might be. I might anticipate, longevity of operations, or like compliance and effort to mitigate impacts being part of the discussion, and perhaps as you might get outreach from those outfitters, kind of solicit that feedback would be great. And as soon as possible, we could we plan to kind of it would be great to get dates on the calendar. I don't know if we can kind of tackle that by the end of this week, but maybe over the next week, if we can get some of those public work sessions, at least proposed dates to the board to set up, that would be.
Okay, we'll send out today from CPD, I think CPD, yes, he's right here. We'll send out email to the 4 current outfitters, with an ask about, their thoughts on when the, new regulations, should be implemented and their feedback on that, so we can have that for you.
Okay.
In that decision making, and then we'll work on the public work sessions on the road use guide and the special use permit.
Okay.
Does that sound?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
We'll also provide them with the draft of the special use permit.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Okay, I will make a motion that we extend the off-highway vehicle or OHV moratorium to December 1st, 2023.
I will second. Further discussion?
And Commissioner Fiedler has joined us online.
Oh,
Hi,
great.
Jeff.
Hey, no further discussion from me.
Okay.
All right, no further discussion
No,
from you?
none from
Okay.
me.
Anything from staff or me?
You good?
All right,
Okay.
excellent. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I
All right, thank you, Anne. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to item 5, discussion and consideration of the planning commission recommendation on land use file 23-04. This is a conditional use permit for a local guide outfitter and local guide located at Chalk Reservoir Fremont Pass on Chalk Falls. The joint public hearing for the file was held on September 11th, 2023. Bryce is not here to lead this discussion, so Anne, if you would please go ahead.
Absolutely. There was a joint public hearing on this on September 11th, and the following is a recommendation that I have from the Planning Commission. At the joint public hearing, there was a unanimous vote of the members in favor of the following motion. The motion was made by Joey Edwards and seconded by Howard Tritz. They moved recommendation of a conditional approval to the Board of County Commissioners of file 2304, conditional use permit application for an outfitter and guide on number 3792, the Parr Robinson Placer, located in section 16, Township 8 South, Range 79 West, pursuant to the standards of section 5.2.23 outfitter and guide. Further finding the approval criteria pursuant to Lake County Land Development Code section 3.6.1F have been met as evidenced in the staff report dated September 11th, 2023 for file 2304. The conditions for approval are: 1, all operation and guide services shall be licensed by the state of Colorado and provide proof of liability insurance. Number 2, operators and guiding services shall provide at least 1 staff member for every 6 client guest participant and carry first aid supplies adequate for their group size. Number 3, at least 1 instructor guide must have, at a minimum, a level 1 avalanche certification for winter programming. Number 4, at a minimum, all guides and instructors must have met current certifications in first aid and CPR. Number 5, all operators must carry wag bags or other method of sanitary waste disposal and haul off any trash produced during ice climbing activities. Number 6, a BLM letter of agreement must be acquired by the applicant to make the BLM aware of the intended incidental use of BLM administered property. Number 7, no more than 8 vehicles shall park and utilize the site at any given time. Guide services and operators are encouraged to shuttle clients, guides, or other participants to the site. And number 8, all representations made in the application and in hearing shall be considered as conditions of approval.
And could you please elaborate a little bit on how this is
coming in the moratorium period?
Coming in the moratorium period and how this is different than, this is a property owner seeking for the land use right to host outfitters and guides, legal outfitters and guides, but not actually operating themselves a business.
So the moratorium specifies operator and guides that their operations are incidental to county roads. So this particular operation is at Chalk Falls, and this is ice climbing. And this particular operation is accessed off of a CDOT right-of-way. And there is no operation or activity that includes a county road. And that is why, as well as this is an outfitter and guide that has been in operation long before the timeframe that we put in the moratorium. So they are eligible for a conditional use permit during this moratorium period, as are all of the other 4 operators that have been seeking conditional use permits for. They're all eligible as well, or excuse me, 3. I'm sorry. Leadville ATV is located in the city. But the others that we have been attempting to get under conditional use permit are also eligible as well.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Ann on file 2304?
No, I didn't have anything from the hearing that I felt was unanswered.
Yeah, same here. None, no questions from me.
Thanks, Jeff. All right. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of file 2304, the conditional use permit for local guide hosting located at Chalk Falls Reservoir, Fremont Pass, number 3792, Par Robinson Placer, 16-08-79, as read into the record with conditions.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Alright, thank you, Ann. Okay, item 6 on our agenda, discussion and consideration of a $200,000 grant awarded to Get Outdoors Leadville, or GOAL, from the Colorado Health Foundation for 2 years of school time programming. And do we have Vanessa? There she is.
Yep.
There's Vanessa Saldivar. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello. How are y'all?
Good.
Here's actually a hard copy.
You want to give us a brief outline?
Yes, so this is a grant that we applied for a few months back, and it is to support our out of school time program portfolio. And that includes our involvement with after school programs in partnership with Project Dream, Friday programming in partnership with Project Dream, and our Rockies Rock Adventure camps, which the biggest being the summer camp, but also our winter break and spring break camp. So we were awarded $200,000 total over 2 years, so $100,000 per year from the Colorado Health Foundation to support those programs. This is our third grant from Colorado Health Foundation. They have awarded us 2 other multi-year grants to support the same program area. And yeah, we do need the approval. The DocuSign was sent to Sarah Mudge as chair, and so I believe that she has it in her possession or in her inbox. And the only other thing that I just wanted to note was that the Colorado Health Foundation has us complete a fiscal sponsor agreement every year, and so we also will need one of those soon, but they haven't asked us for another. Kayla signed our last one, but it's just to be the fiscal sponsor of record, and I cannot, I don't have the notes in front of me. I apologize. I believe that the county has been the fiscal sponsor of record for the Colorado Health Foundation since our first grant in 2019 from them. And the forms haven't changed.
Okay. Great. Vanessa, I do have that in my inbox. Sometimes those DocuSign requests expire, but I will look at that after we're through here at the meeting and, flag that for you if I might need, them to send us another link.
Okay, definitely. You can let me know and I'll just ping our program officer and she can resend.
Very good. Okay. Any questions for Vanessa?
None for me, thank you.
I don't have anything for you either. All right, I'll entertain a motion, to accept, the grant award of $2,000 over the next 2 years, for out-of-school time programming, from the Colorado Health Foundation to be applied to our Get Outdoors Leadville programming.
So moved?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me?
All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Excellent, thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you all so much.
Take
Bye.
care. Okay. Okay. Righty. Moving on to item 7, discussion and consideration of unbudgeted expense of $1,000 for legal fees in the We Love Leadville trademark work. And we have our tourism director, Adam Ducharme, here to give us a bit of background, sorry, on this effort.
You can do that too, though.
I guess, yeah, in terms of background, when we started this initial conversation around the We Love Leadville trademark issue, I did meet with County Manager Tim, and we discussed sort of this concept of sort of where would be the best place for this work to all happen, and we kind of collectively came to the decision that we would like to bring this to the city and see if the city would be willing to initiate, sort of spearhead this conversation, and that we would be sort of waiting in the wings to help financially when the time came, if necessary. So an agreement was struck between JMFT and the city of Leadville to surrender the trademarks that were sort of a point of contention when it comes to the We Love Leadville mark. And so then, as condition of that surrender, we remitted $3,000 as sort of legal fee payment and trademark reimbursement to JMFT, and that cost is going to be split among the partners involved. So that would be the city of Leadville paying $1,000, the county paying $1,000, and then the Chamber of Commerce, the EDC, Main Street, and the tourism panel are each going to remit $250 towards these legal fees. Those the city did pay the amount in full, so this would be basically remitting. In this case, the county would be remitting $1,000 to the city of Leadville to help pay for those legal fees.
Okay.
So that's that one. I think there's another one.
Great. Yeah, you're next actually.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's that one.
Yes, there's that. Let's stick with that for the moment. Really appreciate you looking at this. I think a lot of us were aware of this, and then once it came to kind of triggering and imposing that on other local artists, it really became apparent that it was kind of an issue or contended with what we thought as a community. I think the spirit of the We Love Leadville signage and statement really is. So I think it's important for us to have taken that step, and thank the city for leading that. And Adam, can you remind me, unless not requested to remain anonymous, the gentleman who assisted?
Oh, yeah, Dan Lundy, yep.
Dan Lundy.
From the Golden Borough.
Much appreciation to Mr. Lundy for helping us, providing us with some consultation there as well. No, I don't have any other questions. I'm glad to see this. I think this is kind of a community and needs to be something that all have access to potentially, use without exclusivity. Any other comments or questions?
No, I think I participated in one or two of the group meetings, and so I think it was very efficient, and I think it can be a useful tool for all of us when we're marketing our community, so thank you for pursuing that.
I guess just 2 points to bring up, well, since we're on the conversation. One is that the terms of the agreement are that all parties involved will sort of remain neutral in terms of the way that we discuss this conversation going forward.
Sure.
And then the other is the surrender was done in such a way that it basically sort of nullifies the point of origin of this, so that if, and it makes it more challenging for someone else to initiate a trademark that couldn't easily be disputed. So that works in all of our favor in terms of allowing this mark to remain neutral.
Sure.
So if somebody were to, let's say, just try and trademark it tomorrow again, we have this precedent set, and the language is in such a way that it would become more challenging. So that is, I think, a good thing for all of us moving forward, because that's sort of the ethos of this all, is that it's for all of us. So
yeah.
Excellent.
All right, I will make a motion that we approve the unbudgeted expense of $1,000 for legal fees in the We Love Leadville trademark work.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
None for me.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, thanks, Adam. And then next on our agenda, item 8, discussion and consideration of a letter of support for the Greater Arkansas River Nature Association, or GARNA, application for a Colorado Parks and Wildlife grant to support the Stage and Rail Trail project. And I believe this is specific to signage for the project. And Adam, go ahead and give us a little bit more background here.
Yeah, for anyone that's not familiar, there is a 70-plus mile Stage and Rail Trail that goes from Salida all the way up to Leadville. And some of the work that LaCosi has done over the last few years is to actually sort of create a potential land bridge of sorts that actually goes underneath the highway from Hayden Meadows and makes it possible to connect parts of the Stage and Rail Trail to Leadville. And so, there's still some work that needs to be done in terms of completing that access agreement, but this application is being spearheaded by our friend Sweet Alan Robinson, who has been working on this project for 16 years. He was a younger man when he started this work, but he is tireless, and he is asking for sort of a letter of support and letter of commitment, because he is asking for $3,000. He's asking for from Chaffee County as well as from Lake County to sort of continue this work, and he has a commitment of $1,800 from the city of Leadville. But this letter of support is just to sort of show this commitment from Chaffee County and Lake County as GARNA applies for this larger grant through CPW.
Okay.
I think that's about as much information as I have. Yeah, I'm not exactly certain. Again, I'm more coming at it from the perspective of, as Adam Bay, the Parks Rec and Open Space Director, said, and as I said, this is a good project, and he is a good partner in coming at it from the right place. I will offer that the tourism panel has agreed once he has sort of the user agreements in place, we have dedicated $2,800 from the tourism panel community support program to the Stage and Rail Trail group to provide signage along the Lake County road. So these funds will probably be used to actually just continue to move along on the necessary steps that he needs to actually create the agreement and actually make the trail viable.
Okay.
So I think that's, the CPW grant, I haven't actually seen it myself, but it's a larger grant. It's not just for the signage. The signage in Lake County, that funding has already been committed by the tourism panel, but it's once he works through all these other pieces, then that funding will become available to him. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, what he's asking for now is just that we would, it's a letter of commitment for that $3,000 because he needs that as a good leverage point for the CPW grant, if that makes sense.
Got it.
He's asking the same from Chafee, so matching grants.
Not having had the discussion on financing for that and trying to kind of push appropriate or requests to appropriate bodies, either the tourism panel and/or we haven't had our discussion yet on CTF funds either. I don't know if anyone has a suggestion on, I mean, I don't know. I think we have to have the initial conversation of a random few $1,000 request, because I think we've done some hard work to make sure that like those go to other places appropriately.
Do you want to utilize CTF for this? Is that where you're at?
I'm just offering that as
okay.
as an option potentially, unless like the community fund, I mean, were all other avenues exhausted?
Yeah, and I'm curious, and maybe I didn't understand what you were saying, Adam, about the other agreements he's working on. Do I understand that to include the private property owners for their access and stuff? Okay, because that was what we were waiting to hear back from.
Exactly.
And, in order to further support the project. And
Totally.
so I don't know where he is on those.
Yeah, that I think I don't know where he is either on that, in terms of reaching out. I think this is what I do know, is that I left it with him in terms of being able to, he should come here and talk with y'all about the best ways to get in touch with those private landowners.
Well, and we've been communicating with him throughout the spring, summer about that, and because he wanted the county to go in and improve it, that is that route designated as part, and we can't do that over private property.
Right.
So that's what we were waiting to hear back from him, once he got those
letters of
agreements.
Support or whatever.
From the private landowners.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Is that what this grant will help iron out?
No, this is education, interpretation, public mapping, and brochures. That's what this grant is for. So no, I don't think this CPW grant is not for to work on those. So yeah, no. If I misunderstood you, Chris, then no, that's not what this is for. I think at the end of the day, I think what he was hoping is to engage with the county to receive the best ways to engage those private landowners, right?
Yeah, which we can't, I mean, that's not something we can do for him, is what the conclusion was.
Totally.
I reiterated to Alan on Friday that he had to do that.
Yeah.
The county could not.
Cool. I haven't talked
He
to him yet about that.
he understands it, he has to work with the private landowners.
Yeah, and I did show him the CPD map that sort of shows mailing addresses for folks, so that he could at least start necessary conversations with folks. So I don't know if he's utilized that tool at all, but I did at least try and show him that as a resource.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder, is this request premature?
Sure.
Because if he hasn't or isn't able to do that, to get the private property owners to agree to access across the property for this.
Totally.
We essentially told him there wasn't much more the county could do until we had that.
Great.
So.
Is there a timeline on this?
There was some, this was due October something,
October 3rd.
October 3rd?
Yeah.
The application.
For this application.
So that's the day of our next meeting?
But I'm more than happy to reiterate what Tim reiterated to him on Friday and just let him know that might be where we're at.
And, I mean, we could include in the letter of support, we understand that there are some issues to finalize and like work through with that. I'm never order to accept like and designate a route.
Because I think that's what we've gone back to him.
Yeah,
is that it would be conditioned on his ability to present the county with the agreed access for the private property owners.
And that's what the tourism panel has informed as well when it comes to signage. So
right.
Happy to continue to reiterate that message. So.
Okay.
So that maybe the letter of support isn't necessary, because it is, looking back on it too, it is sort of letter of support / letter of commitment, financial commitment.
And that's, that's my concern is, and then you're making this commitment, and then if it isn't resolved, whatever this year.
Totally.
You can't really carry it over into the next year, it'd have to be a new ask for.
Yep. Happy to.
Do any understanding the timeline for the applications first week of October when they would make a decision on it?
You mean JV or?
Or the
CPW?
That CPW, yeah. No, because that was, what I'm wondering is if, you do the support and you just put in, the county supports it conditioned on receiving approval by private property owners for access across their property. Because I hate to walk away from it, but then it sounds like it's not something that's gonna happen this year in terms of the expenditure. And so that would be, that's the one thing I'm kind of intent on, have thoughts on that, to where this would be something to be budgeted, I think, in next year's. But in terms of the expenditure, right?
No, it's their 23 grand cycle, so then they can Stage and Rail and Garnet can continue their work in 24.
So, but it is so the county's commitment, the county's expenditure would be 24?
No, 23.
How would, if it's?
I'm not necessarily worried about which year it would be coming from. I just want to be consistent in a process of like considering where that money comes from and accepting. I know this isn't so random because it's not a new project, but I don't want to reopen the floodgates of offhand requests to the county.
And Alan did say in his last email that these have come from the Conservation Trust funds before, when the county has contributed to this project, so. But I think if there is, there's a condition in there saying, letting CPW know, that there are things that need to be worked out on the Lake County end, but ultimately we support the project, or.
I think it would be great to put in that letter. Even like following the Friday Summit, right? Like the Colorado Recreation User Statute and all. I think, why not? Why not include it in the letter of support of like the CPW?
Yeah.
Like, hey,
I love that.
this is part of getting this, 16 and 16 identified trail, regional trail, like operating, and statute and state decisions have really affected like
that's great.
How this
tenor in the conversation.
Yeah, and I think let's take the opportunity to include that in the letter of support.
Sure.
And maybe encourage that work to be supported and ironed out through this grant opportunity that they are seeking. Assuming that that's not like totally off the wall and out in left field.
It's not, it's it is the problem.
Yeah. And I'm willing to allocate that from CTF funds, if the board is in favor as well. But
if it's an eligible use.
For the,
CTF
right.
I don't, because we have had to return CTF funds because we use them for marketing materials, that's not an eligible use.
Yeah, we should make sure that, whatever the scope in that grant application is, there's something that's eligible, unless you are not in favor at all, but we can.
No, I'm fine doing it.
Yeah, it's tough, right, because education is the top thing that's listed, but then also brochures is listed, so that's.
Well, and it can be allocated toward portions of the project.
So eligible expenditures are acquisition, development, and maintenance of new conservation sites, capital improvements or maintenance of recreation purposes on public sites, operation of a system of television relay and translator facilities, and other recreational facilities therefore. I don't know if that's supposed to be.
Well, public mapping, interpretation, and education is probably, public mapping, is that doesn't,
Capital improvements or acquisition of sites.
sorry, what was the last one you said?
Operation of a television relay or
Oh.
translator facility.
Right, yep.
Isn't that weird?
Do we wanna see if he can join us right now? I mean, did anybody notify him that this was on the agenda?
No, we did not, but we talked about it, that he did not want to waste the board's time or be pester or repetitive, because I think he's in front of the chair of the board right now. So,
Don't we have any other meetings scheduled between now and October 3rd too, that he can?
No.
Okay. I mean, how much is it? I'm not overall concerned about $3,000 in the overall scheme of things with our budget. I think we just wanna make sure that that there's that delineation of, like if you don't get the private property easements and you have signage for it, what does that look like for you in terms of granting? Is there a liability for the county if that doesn't happen? For the whole grant, I don't know,
Yeah.
just a couple things to like review.
I'm just here meeting with the Board of County Commissioners, and we just wanted a little bit of clarification. We're just talking through your request that you sent to Tim. And I think the biggest thing we're wanting clarification on is when it comes to, you mentioned that in the past, these funds have come from CTF funds, is that correct?
We should look too, because the acquisition might not be like straight acquisition of land, but like the designation, like that.
Part of the issue is
like of that,
CTF
that
funds
might be
cannot be used for
Acquisition of
marketing
rights to
materials,
access
so
land.
in terms of this
This is just on
request,
their
this letter of
website.
support, you mentioned that you're
Typically, that's
moving
not.
focus from route designation to education, interpretation, public mapping, and brochures, so that,
Mm-hmm.
Not just the right to access it.
yeah, and that's it. We're just trying to understand where the money can come from, and then the other issue, of course, being still that the private landowner. From the county's perspective, we still need to make sure that those sort of, that the route is viable, that you have sort of letters of commitment from those private landowners in that area. So just wanted to see if you had made any headway in connecting with those private landowners.
I mean, it's eligible to be used as a grant match.
Sure. The other one as well. Okay. Yeah.
There are any restrictions on that grant match, what it's for, or something?
It just says the kinds of activities and properties that are eligible.
Sure.
CTF can be used for the acquisition, development, and maintenance of new conservation sites, or for capital improvements or maintenance for recreational
Right,
purposes on
through the
any
press
public
work.
site.
Okay.
A public site is defined by the department as a publicly owned site or government-owned property.
Sure.
As defined in statute, new conservation sites mean interests in land and water.
Sure.
Open, park and recreation purposes for all types of open space.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
What is the definition of a recreation site?
Cash match from a particular source to a particular outcome. And that might be a way of avoiding that issue of using conservation trust funds for
Right, because in terms of this CPW grant, the Trails grant, you know, broadly, the education, interpretation, public mapping brochures, what sort of things are you looking to use the funds for?
Simply doing roadside interpretation, like, signage, some trailhead, signage, and development of a brochure and kind of a visitor-friendly map and website. We do have a website already, but it's kind of convoluted. Just reading through databases and things like that, but we can more visitor-friendly map. And I recognize that you're providing that marketing, but
sure.
It's really intended for the use of people who already have arrived at our site.
Sure.
We don't frankly plan on really active promotion.
Sure.
So if that's any use of clarification, but we're certainly aware of issues related to excessive promotion of activity, both within Lake and County.
Sure.
We're not in the business of
Totally, it's just that we've literally, there's just been an issue of having to return CTF funds in the past if they were used for any sort of, anything that would be considered marketing, so. But yeah, no, I appreciate that background and perspective, and also on the private land use side of things, so. Well, I'll see what I can do here, Alan, but we are, so this one is not a slam dunk, so to speak.
Okay, for what it's worth, just about a half an hour ago, I came from Chaffey County, Board of County Commissioners, and they have approved $3,000 contribution. But to be honest, I did not ask the source.
Sure,
I did not ask whether they were using their conservation resource.
Sure, totally, okay, all right.
Well, I do appreciate the efforts.
Sure, totally.
And I think I did jump ahead to send you a draft.
Oh, you did, excellent. Okay, great, that would be great, because I'm gonna be responsible for sort of crafting that as necessary, so, thank you for doing that. I'm not sure if I saw that come through, so if you get a chance to resend.
I'll double check once we get back.
Awesome.
I'll double check to make sure you did. I know I drafted it.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay.
Okay, well, I do appreciate you, all of your efforts.
Thank you, Alan, appreciate it. Okay, all right, bye-bye. So,
I mean, I remember, I don't know that I don't mean to downplay using the CTF funds appropriately. I think we put some CTF funds towards wayfinding at one point, though I don't think we actually ever used it for signage and like maintenance on trailhead parking or something. I mean, I think that $3,000 could be, like, we could find an appropriate allocation for that in the project, and I'm happy to craft a motion that includes that in there.
To use
Yeah,
CTF funds?
yeah. But, and also, I think it kind of rekindles our conversation of like how we want to apply those in general, and
Well,
like
because I
really
just,
invest them in
I
with
thought when
guidance from the
we,
rec department.
yeah, I
And
thought
that's what
that,
these guys are kind of bringing to us to
totally.
recommend that we go towards, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just, like when we talk about the one-offs, this is the easiest place to pull that from. And so if, like, there's a bigger ask for us to maintain open space locally, like, I don't wanna shortchange that by like, oh, this is just an easy plug and play.
Yep.
Because really, like, $3,000 out of the general fund is I mean, that's like less than 0.01% of that budget. And so I'm not against like the allocation of the funding, I just wanna make sure that it's allocated from a place that doesn't put us in an exposure of risk to have to repay it or whatever. And also just, like what the long-term goal of the stage and rail trail is. And like, if we've reached the end of our rope with where we're at doing it, and what we can help with, like, what's the next step in Lake County, right? Because like, the last thing I would want is to have a bunch of signage that can't be utilized because the private property rights
right.
haven't been.
Yeah.
tackled, you know, and kind of go from there, and
Unfortunately, Alan's response was not,
yeah.
not, I love it. He's basically, you know, talking about how he's.
I know. Yeah, no, I just,
Well, why don't,
Hoping that crust gets solved.
hoping that crust gets solved.
Yeah, he's
That's-
hoping that.
That's a big,
that crust gets fixed, you know, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like the best way to strategize, you know, like I was like, cause again, I've literally emailed the mailing address of the other private landowner in Maine, I've emailed him that address, so, I feel like I have also tried to call them,
yeah.
so.
Okay.
It's
thanks.
such a shame. 'Cause this is, I
I
mean,
would,
this is like, sorry, go ahead.
no, you, I didn't mean to
No.
interrupt you.
No, I was just gonna give a little more background, but go ahead.
I just,
Yeah.
I would really love to see the whole grant application. Is that a thing that we could look at even?
Is that what he said he sent to you?
No, he's sending a draft letter of support.
Oh, all right.
But I'm sure I can, once he sends me that, I'm sure I can get that from him.
Yeah,
Again,
I would
it's,
I would
I'm
just love to see like what the
this,
holistic picture of that.
oh, so,
is.
because this is gonna be what they're requesting from CPW, and what they're requesting is basically like interpretive signage, maps, and then a brochure, and some updates to the website. So, that's kind of all in the, like, basic, it's kind of all marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, the more I hear, the more I'm like, oh, man.
Well, I mean, and like, again, I think that like the project, I mean, again, this was like 16 regional trails identified in 2016 and, you know, is like part of economic development and driving and recreation in the county. It just, I think, I appreciate that we are thinking very critically about this private landowner piece, but, yeah, I don't have any other insight onto what is
Yeah.
being offered to resolve that.
Yeah, no, it's not the.
Sorry.
It's getting a little more buttoned up.
I mean, I could reach out to like CPW folks, perhaps, and state folks
We
to
can
figure
just
out
ask Garner
where we
for that.
can.
Yeah.
We'll just ask Garner.
Yeah, let's just ask them about the application, look at the
Yeah.
application.
I'm sure Bianca's the one working on it, I can just ask her. So.
I wonder if we, I mean, I'm comfortable like allocating money for it. So it's fine, I think it's just a bigger conversation about where we're at with the trail in Lake to follow up on, and then if we do allocate the CTF funds, just to make sure that they're used appropriately so that we don't have to repay those or whatever, I mean, we would have to repay them anyway, and then the expenditure would just come from our general fund, like internally, but,
The 13th is that application
the third,
submittal?
The third.
Third.
yeah. Like, could we like, could we review the grant application and authorize the chair to sign a letter of support if she feels like that meets the basic outline of what we've talked about here today, and then ratify that October 3rd?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think Sarah has the most experience with it, Sarah has the most experience with it, so I think if Adam Ducharme could get us the application, Sarah would be able to make that decision
Yeah, I'm happy to
based
do
on
that
like,
and share that and give you guys the information.
and we can just ratify that on October 3rd if you feel like
Sure.
that meets what we think is gonna happen here.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, just because it's kind of time sensitive, so then we don't have to like post a special meeting for that, but then on October 3rd, we can either ratify or say like, hey, we declined to do a letter of support because of X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
potentially.
I also would like Adam to include in there that cross piece and
Yep,
those
totally,
issues
I will.
specifically in that letter of support, like,
Yeah.
we support this with the resolution of, the issue. We're addressing that.
So do we need to do anything then if we allow Sarah to work on, just
You
make a
can, I
motion
was
to
gonna
do
say,
that?
you could go on and move to authorize the chair
Okay.
to provide the letter of support upon determination
Okay,
that it's appropriate.
are you good with that
Mhm.
though? Like, do you
Mhm.
feel like you can, with that? Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Jeff, are you still with us?
I am, I've been listening.
Okay, I'm just making sure that's good with you too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I will, make a motion to authorize the chair, to work with Adam Ducharme and, review the Garnet application, and we will ratify,
Draft
and draft
specific language.
specific language in a letter of support, should it warrant it, or report back on if a letter of support was given or not at our October 3rd meeting.
To our, plan to, where we support with the financial request.
And support it at the $3,000 request level. I guess we'll take that from
Somewhere
CTF and
Okay.
then if it's not deemed to be eligible.
Yeah, if it's not eligible, I can go to my tourism panel too.
We can review it at that time.
Yeah,
We can review
I
that
can try to
eligibility.
advocate as that being a use of the 2024 community support program, like a out-of-cycle application, which I'm sure Sarah Edwards is loving hearing that right now, but because that's like exactly why we created the community support program, is to get away from that.
Well, that's exactly
Yeah,
what
I
we're
know,
talking
I
about
know,
here,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
we're
we're
all
like,
talking about the
we
same
thought we've done really good at like pointing people in the right direction
Yeah.
for grant requests.
Did you get all that?
Most of it, good thing it's recorded.
Okay.
Do you want?
Okay, so
redo
here,
it,
yeah,
or
so
do you
here's
wanna-
my motion for real.
All right, so I'll start over.
Okay, I move that we will authorize the chair of the BOCC to work with Adam Ducharme and create a letter of support that encapsulates the county's requests for the stage and rail trail completion
Regarding
regarding
private
private
land.
property leases.
Or
And,
maybe not leases,
just
issues.
issues, sorry, not leases, issues. And that we will approve the funding request of $3,000 through CTF funds or reallocate as determined based on the use of the funds. And that we'll ratify that at our October 3rd meeting. Okay. Did I get it all in
You
there?
did, you did.
Like, you could have just thrown crust in there at some point, but not worth it.
I was like, I don't know where to put the word crust.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, maybe we should. I think we should. Yeah, amend, can we amend that? I would like to amend that.
Okay, Sarah can add.
So the
Sarah can add
private
the amendment.
land issues regarding CRUS, C-R-U-S.
Yeah, which is Colorado Recreational Use Statute.
Okay,
Very good.
CRUS?
Yes,
CRUS.
Colorado, and please, spell it out, Cindy, the
Sorry.
Colorado Recreational Use Statute.
I know.
I'm
sorry.
Statute, okay,
This is.
okay,
Cause that's a big
as
deal.
part of the letter,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
so instead of leases or issues, it's that. It's Colorado Recreational Use Statute. There, okay, now we got it.
Okay,
Got
thank you, sorry,
Yes.
now
No, you're good,
Liz
you're
told me
good.
not to say any more words, so I'm done.
No, you're fine, it's totally fine. Where we got?
I would never censor you. I appreciate
Do you wanna
it.
second it?
I'll second. Any further discussion on the motion?
No, none for me, thank you.
Fantastic.
Was that
Thanks,
entertaining?
Jeff.
All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye,
I,
Excellent. Okay.
thanks, Adam.
Thank you so much, Adam.
You're good,
Sorry, y'all.
we're good.
All right, on to item 9, discussion and consideration for Cooper Hill Ski Area Liquor License Renewal. Cindy, I know we have, Patrick Purcell online, I see as well, but Cindy, you have gotten all the documentation payments and.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotten all the payments.
Any issues?
No issues.
All right, excellent, and we will open up the public hearing portion for the liquor licensing, and then open up a public input portion of that. But first, I'll turn to Patrick Torcell and see if he has any comments for us. Just observing, okay. Alrighty. I'll open up public input portion for the liquor license renewal. Are there any public comments to be made? I don't see, we have no public left in the room, but anyone online wishing to make public comments on the liquor license renewal? I do not see any hands. Okay. Not seeing any interest in making public comment on the license renewal. I'll close the public input portion and come to the board for discussion.
Okay.
I think this is a good opportunity to kind of revisit and also just ask and request, Patrick, we'd love to set up a couple of work sessions with the Ski Cooper board to discuss community feedback on operations and of course dig into that master development planning that has kind of been postponed or paused at the moment, and I think we really do need to make that effort to kind of schedule some time together. I don't know if that is possible by the end of the year, but yeah, I think we would schedule with the board, please. Yes, sir. Any other comments or questions? Do we want to share any public feedback that we've received?
I just will say that I'm surprised that there is not a lot of public participation here for the liquor license renewal because of the reduction in children and family services to accommodate the addition of a bar service. And so I think that has been a lot of feedback that we've received. I do see in here that there is Cloud City Mountain Sports and kids ski school to take 3, 4, and 5-year-olds on half days on 8 different Sundays. And so I just to put that in as feedback that we've received at this level. I don't know if there's anything to add there, but so just a point of observation, I guess, but that's it.
Yeah, I guess I would add to that yeah, we did have a lot of questions about that, Patrick, as far as that addition of the bar, and also I think just in general, we hope that our conversations or plan for our conversations to include deliberate community benefit, and I think that I understand that maybe the closure of what we used to have in ski competitions, there was a reduction of the available terrain for those competitions, and so that took us out of hosting some ski races and whatnot, and I think you can count on us bringing that community feedback and our representing the community to kind of revive maybe some more of that community focus in our future conversations together. Yes, I understand that venues are available now, and that is great. But hoping that maybe you can communicate and or advocate for the community with your board decisions to make sure that that is understood and heard. But we will schedule those conversations.
Thank you, Patrick.
And if you could bring that request to your board, Patrick, if there are dates, either of your existing board meetings or,
This is on it.
awesome, you're emailing Patrick or the board?
Oh, no, I made a note to do it.
Okay,
Yes, no.
great, okay. But yeah, please report that back to your board, Patrick, if they might want to collect some dates for, thinking about organizing, us getting together, and we'd love to host y'all in a couple of work sessions, at least one, ideally by the end of the year. All right. Any other questions?
None for me, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Fiedler?
No, that was good. Thanks for raising that point.
Thanks.
Great. Oh, it looks like board meeting is this Thursday. When and where is that, Patrick? And yes, we'd appreciate you raising that. Thank you.
Cool.
10 a.m. Thursday at Ski Cooper. Excellent.
Awesome.
Thanks,
you.
Patrick. All right, any other questions on the license renewal? I don't think so. Okay,
None for
with
me,
that, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the Ski Cooper Hill area liquor license renewal.
Did you say that you were?
I think I said I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Or no, I didn't say
Okay,
approval. You'll have to make that motion, I'm
make a
sorry.
motion that we approve, the renewal of the liquor license permit for Ski Cooper.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
None for me.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, on to item 10. Thanks for being here, Patrick, and hanging in with us until your item. Item 10, discussion and consideration of professional service agreement with Qualcore Engineering Corp. for $13,365 for corrosion control systems and testing. And this will be led by County Manager Tim Bergman and it looks like Jeff Fiedler as well. Go right ahead.
Sure, so Qualcore is a company that does corrosion control systems and testing or consulting, so working as we design the new proposed community justice center. This is a firm that looks at like the sprinkling systems, the fire hydrants, all, sanitary pipes, everything you don't want to corrode. That's what they work on.
In the existing, sorry.
No, that's my question.
No,
What are
in
you
the
gonna
new.
ask? In the new one?
This is designing or consulting on the new designs.
Okay.
Okay, and we need that as part of our, like, overall cost.
And finalized
analysis,
costs, yeah.
Finalized costs for our final decisions.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Jeff.
do you have anything? Sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, I don't think I was supposed to be on the presentation list for this agenda item.
Surprise.
Okay. All right.
As much as I
just
care
a-
about pipe corrosion.
As much as I care. I guess just a quick question. Are we still on track for kind of wrapping up all the exploration of the information on the new site and the current campus?
All the way.
For the exploration of research and kind of culmination of
Yeah, so on October,
options?
yes, so on
Yeah.
October 19th, the board has a work session on capital improvement projects, so that will be
Part of that.
on there.
Excellent. Okay, great. Very good.
I will make a motion that we approve the PSA with Quailcore Engineering for $13,365 for corrosion control systems and testing. And I'm just gonna add in there, in regards to the Community Justice Center.
Great, I'll second. Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Not for me.
Okay,
Aye?
aye,
I,
Okay.
all right. All right, item 11, discussion and consideration of the application and supporting agreements for the Community Development Block Grant or CDBG Business Loan Fund Grant to fund the 13 business loan, the 13? like Region 13 COG. I think Region 13, we are COG Region 13 Business Loan Fund, for the 6-county region. Okay, and this is led by Tim?
Yeah, so there was a public meeting last Friday, 2 Fridays ago.
On the first, actually, yeah.
First. Yes, and so that was a, public meeting openly held, for our COG, the Upper Arkansas Area Council on Governments, to, move forward with a grant application for the Community Development Block Grant. In this block grant, should the BOCC approve this, would then go to their business loan fund to be able to grant out to local businesses within our 6-county region. There's no grant match or anything for it. We can just work on, communicating out the opportunity to local entrepreneurs, whether to expand their business, start a business, help develop our economy.
Okay. I don't have any questions on that.
Okay. This isn't new, right? Is this a renewal for?
No, they've
offering
done
that?
this for a few years, I thought.
Yeah, so this, remember Dave Paul, their new
The guy,
business
yeah.
guy, economic development person, so he, I don't know if this is new, in terms of things that the COG has done, but this is like a renewed effort by the COG to get these kind of funding, and then with Mr. Paul's, his background and expertise, he can, he estimates that he can double this funding in terms of participations with local banks and things like that, so he can double the pot of money available for businesses.
Yeah, I think that was, he came to us in a work session or another
Yeah.
meeting and was like,
Like during
Our-
CBOE in between?
Yep.
Yeah.
our participation in utilizing the funds is
Right.
very low, and so that was,
Yes.
yes, thank you, that's a good point to bring up. I'm just trying to promote that and get more people, accessing those funds. All right, no questions for me.
Okay.
Commissioner Fiedler,
No, it's okay.
any questions?
Sorry, yeah, no, nothing for me.
All right,
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the application and supporting agreements for the Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG, Business Loan Fund Grant to fund the Region 13 Business Loan Fund for our 6-county region through the Upper Arkansas COG, Council of Governments.
Second?
any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, sorry, just finishing a note here. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. On to item 12. Okay, discussion and consideration of contract with the Colorado Department of Transportation for our project developing and the study and design of multimodal facilities with Lake County around the town of Leadville. Tim and or Commissioner Fiedler, do you wanna lead this? Is this a status update and or next steps in our MMOF award?
Sure, so this is the contract with CDOT to receive the MMOF funding. And just to remind everyone where it is at, so we had applied for this funding. Essentially for pedestrian and bicycle safety design, and then it ties in with our new local transit service that we're also working on. So there are 4 challenge areas. One is when you come into town from the north, where 24 and 91 intersect, and then that corridor all the way to Safeway, where everyone ignores the speed limit. And then area 2 is as you, if you're headed out on 24 towards Ski Cooper, is the Mountain View Village Mobile Home Park area, where again, people ignore the speed limit. Children cross the street to catch the school bus, all those kinds of things. So just various ways that we can improve safety out by Mountain View Village. Challenge area 3 is the, I guess, going west out of town, where the entrance to CMC is, the sanitation RV pullout, trailhead parking for Dutch Henry, all of those. So the Mineral Belt Trail, so no one knows how to engage there, maybe unless you're a local, been here for winter and know that there's all those turns and exits and things happening right there. And then area 4, the potential of the new and expanding gravel pits and milling operations, and how that can move around the city's core, and then bicycle and ped safety on US 24. So the MMOF request is for $700,000. The local match is $175,000. So a total of $875K. And that goes towards, Jeff and I are working on finishing an RFP that goes to the design of these safety projects, not the engineering of it, but the design of it.
Can we just?
Nope, we cannot. But it does open us up to future MMOF funding and federal and state transit dollars to actually engineer and then implement these safety precautions at these areas. It has been a learning process for me dealing with CDOT, but also it's been a big learning process for CDOT. They've never dealt with MMOF funds before. So everybody's learning.
It's
Everyone's learning.
It's
great.
the same thing that we are dealing with our transit implementation, right? Of like, nobody really knows how to treat the funds, so I think.
And housing, kind of, I mean,
Yeah.
there's such that influx, building the plane while flying it.
That's
the
totally how
best.
it is. I mean, they were like, build us a budget and tell us how to do this, and then we were like, Tim and I were like, no, it's your money, you tell us how to spend it, actually. Because I don't think we would wanna take on that liability, but
Yeah.
I think getting to the point of having a grant agreement for this is,
Yes,
great,
that
and I'm
is,
super
that's the
excited.
approval for this.
Yes.
And I don't know, Commissioner Fiedler, if you have anything to add, and if you want to open up, I think Mr. Day was curious about it as well, but I think he understands what this is for.
It's had a couple quick things, and you highlighted the 4 areas, right? And then, yeah, this is a planning grant, but I think the idea is to get us, the planning will be done, to CDOT specs, so that we'll be sort of maybe not quite shovel ready, but ready for the next stage of applying for implementation grants on anything that comes out of this. And then a second point to make is that a key part of the work that we'll put out to RFP is to work with local stakeholders. So this isn't going to be some engineering firm in Wisconsin coming up with something. They'll be here on the ground talking to all the neighboring landowners, property owners, and the community. So it'll be an engagement process as well.
Yeah.
And then maybe just to say, I mean, at least my intent is like, the hope is in addition to being ready for CDOT grants, we'll also have, for those areas that Tim highlighted, like a little bit of a kind of a master plan, so that when developments happen, or redevelopment happens, those private property owners sort of have something to tie into with their, sidewalks, access points, et cetera. That some of that burden can be carried by, that development as it happens.
Thank you for those points.
For whatever it's worth to you and Jeff, Tim. Leadville Sanitation has reached out about, the entrance into Dutch Henry Hill, so, and the work that needs to be done there, and so I, will set up an email with the contact that I've been talking with at Leadville Sanitation, so that there's not like some redundancy happening there, so that if we need to ask to move the money somewhere else, because sanitation's done some of that work, like maybe we can do that, or just whatever that partnership looks like there. I just was really excited that they had reached out to be like, hey, we know that, you're working on things with Dutch Henry, like how do we collaborate in this space? And so I'll just make sure that I get a connection between the four of us before we go further.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for bringing this to this point, Commissioner Fiedler and Tim. Appreciate it. It was like a real team effort, kind of, with or without participating folks over 7 years. Awesome.
Well, I just want to like say to Tim's point, like I'm really thankful that he's been able to jump in and help with some of this stuff on both Jeff's grant and mine, because I think people get disheartened that there's like not a lot of movement happening with transit right now, but truly the holdup has been on CDOT's end, and I think like Tim can attest to that truly the holdup has just been on like how do we get this money to you, and so it's just part of how it goes. So anyway, all right.
I'll
go ahead. You want me
entertain
to?
a motion for the approval of the contract with the Colorado Department of Transportation, and regarding our MMOF, or multimodal, what does the O stand for? Something.
Multimodal Transportation and Mitigation Options Fund.
Multimodal Transportation and Mitigation Options Fund, otherwise known as MMOF. A grant agreement.
I'll second, or so moved, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, excellent. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, on to item 13. Okay, this item, let's see, discussion and consideration of letter of engagement for Sullivan Green Savvy for CB for Board of County Commissioners work session on the Lake County 1041 regulations. This has come up and I was requested to do some outreach to see if we could get some consultation for us with CPD and the board, especially moving into and making sure we are leveraging all the tools at hand, moving into some big development applications anticipated and also on the docket. And so this is meant to be an informative opportunity for us, scheduled, it looks like some of the proposed dates are at the end of October right now. And I'll push those out to the board when I get a response from Ann Schneider with CPD. Chris has reviewed the scope of work. And I did reach back out to Tori Jarvis to make sure that included in her preliminary work in preparation of the work session. She intended and she verified she did to reach out to the commissioners individually, to Tim and to Chris and to Ann, especially as CPD staff, to get a collection of all of the questions, concerns, and desired outcomes or discussion topics in the meeting. I definitely made it clear to her that there's not, I mean, this is something that there's some tentativeness over executing or skepticism, and so we want to cover the whole gamut of, how to utilize and or how to plan for future incorporation potentially into other land use code, which she has the experience of doing and also is currently working with other counties like Eagle on exploring. So I don't know if there's any other questions on this right now. I know Chad been communicating through the process with you all.
I don't have any questions on it in particular.
Okay.
I think this letter or engagement letter is good with me, and I think we haven't been through the 1041 process before, so it's good to get. Good to get some help.
Yeah. All right. Excellent.
Cool.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the letter of engagement for Sullivan Green CV for a work session with the Board of County Commissioners and staff regarding Lake County 1041 regulations.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Chris, have you been able to connect with Tori on finalizing that language?
Yeah, I think the last one she sent, I think, is the one in the packet in terms of the scope of the engagement and such. And so, yeah, I think that's fine, as long as y'all approve that, that's fine. And I can follow up with her to confirm that the engagement has been approved.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent, and I know y'all can count on, I don't know when, but I can, Chris, if you'd ask her maybe to let us know as soon as possible when she is trying to reach out, but I think that her and her partner, Barb Green, would do a review of regulations and other land use code, and after that, reach out to make sure that all of our questions, they can be prepared for that, for the discussion.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, on to item 14, discussion and consideration of resolution 2023-12, a resolution amending standards for the issuance of optional premises licensing and for optional premises for a hotel and restaurant license pursuant to the provisions of CRS 44-3-310. This is led by a county attorney. Go ahead.
And so actually 14, 15, and 16 are all related resolutions, and the reason for that is we were originally approached by Clerk Lauritsen with a request to develop an application for a tasting license, and in looking at that, discovered that the OCC back in 2015 had already adopted a resolution for tasting licenses and an application and rules and that type of thing. But it was adopted under prior code that changed starting in 2018. And that resolution referred to two other resolutions that had been adopted under the prior code. So the intent of these three resolutions is essentially to update the county's process and resolutions to refer to the current code, which essentially incorporated in most of the stuff that was in the old code that did make some changes, so it wasn't just a swap. And so that's why I feel like we need to go in and amend those resolutions to cover it. This first one is the basic one in terms of for adopting standards for allowing approving a premises license for alcoholic beverages essentially. And so the only difference between this and the original one that was referenced in it was resolution 06-12 when this was first adopted is just the updates in the code to reference the current code of it for that. And so the resolution goes through the different standards that are adopted, as well as the types of facilities that are eligible for this type of permit, which includes golf courses, tennis courts, ice skating rinks, ski areas, swimming pools, and other outdoor sports and recreation premises. There's no restriction in terms on the size of that facility or the number of licenses that can be granted for that. It goes into what submittal requirements there are, as well as the notification requirements once this is done, and it essentially repeals the prior resolution for that.
Okay.
So I have hard copies if anyone's interested in reading it, and I apologize because these three they're not short and sweet because of the code requiring certain information to be in there.
I don't have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I would just like to thank the amount of time that the county attorney, Chris Floyd, and our operations coordinator, Liz Miller, spent doing this for the elected clerk and recorder. There was no assistance offered from that end. So I just want to acknowledge their time and helping try and get something completed that the board did not ask for.
And in all honesty, the way this was presented was there was a current business that asked for a tasting permit. And that's when it came to light that we needed to update this. So as I apologize to Clerk Moritz and everybody else that discovering that kind of opened a can of worms in terms of the updates that were now required. And I'm glad we found them because it also appears that there's some folks that didn't realize they needed permits for this kind of stuff. So the plan is, if these resolutions are adopted, that letters will be sent to the current licensees to let them know that they do need permits for tastings and that type of thing, as well as it'll be provided to anybody new who applies for this type of stuff. So at least I hope in this category will be up to date.
And so would these then be applied to, like, is this a more appropriate application for special events? In like
It will, and there
selling
are three different ones, so, because they're different applications. So this first one is just for optional premises. The next one, which will be 23-13, will be setting liquor and beer licensing application fees where they can actually apply for, and they go into a lot of different premises and such that can apply for those licenses. And then the third one is for tasting permits, so it actually covers 3 different areas.
Okay, great. All right, let's see. So for the first resolution 2312, are we sure that's the right number?
That is, I know I asked, and she vetted and looked at all of them that have been passed, and yes, it does look like the 12 is the next
Excellent,
one.
okay.
The disaster resolution was
11.
Originally named 12, but it was corrected to 11, which puts this starting at 12.
Thank you, thank you. Okay. So let me just pull these up to get that right.
And I apologize, I've been trying to
That's
find
okay.
some exemption where you don't have to read all of this into the record.
So the first one, let me just say, optional permit, okay. Optional premise resolution. All right, I'll, happy to read this into the record. Resolution 23-12, a resolution amending standards for the issuance of optional premises licenses and for optional premises for a hotel and restaurant license pursuant to the provisions of CRS 44-3-310, whereas CRS 44-3-310, the code permits a county to adopt standards for the issuance of optional premises licenses or for optional premises for a hotel or restaurant license for outdoor sports or recreational facilities as defined in CRS 44-3-310, whereas the Board of County Commissioners wishes to adopt such standards and previously adopted Resolution 0612 addressing standards for the issuance of optional licenses pursuant to then existing CRS 12-47-301, which has been repealed and replaced by the code. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County, Colorado, Section 1, the following standards for the issuance of optional premises licenses or for optional premises for a hotel and restaurant license are hereby adopted pursuant to the provisions of CRS 44-3-310. A, standards adopted. These standards adopted herein shall be considered in addition to all other standards applicable to the issuance of licenses under the Colorado Liquor Code for optional premise license or for optional premises for a hotel and restaurant license. These two types of licenses for optional premises will collectively be referred to as optional premises in these standards unless otherwise provided. B, eligible facilities. An optional premises may only be approved when that premise is located on or adjacent to an outdoor sports and recreational facility as defined in CRS 44-3-103-33. The types of outdoor sports and recreational facilities which may be considered for outdoor premises license may include but not limited to the following: golf courses and driving ranges, tennis courts, ice skating rinks, ski areas, swimming pools, or other outdoor sports and recreational premises. There are no restrictions on the minimum size of the outdoor sports and recreational facilities which may be eligible for the approval of an optional premises license. However, the Board of County Commissioners, acting as the local licensing authority, may consider the size of the particular outdoor sports or recreational facility in relationship to the number of optional premises requested for the facility. Number of optional premises. There are no restrictions on the number of optional premises which any one licensee may have on their outdoor sports or recreational facility. However, an applicant requesting approval of more than one optional premise shall demonstrate the need for each optional premise in relation to the outdoor sports or recreational facility and its guests. D, submittal requirements. When submitting a request for the approval of an optional premises, an applicant shall also submit the following information. 1, a map or other drawing illustrating the outdoor sports or recreational facility boundaries and the approximate location of each optional premise requested. 2, a legal description of the approximate area within which the optional premise shall be located. 3, a description of the method which shall be used to identify the boundaries of the optional premise when it's in use. Sorry, hold on. 4, a description of the provisions which have been made for storing malt, vinous, and spirit. I'm gonna get tongue-tied reading this and spirituous liquors in a secured area on or off the optional premises for the future use on the optional premises. I'll get tongue-tied just reading simple words. E, advance notification. Pursuant to section CRS 44-33092, no alcoholic beverages may be served on the optional premises without the license having provided written notice to the state and the Board of County Commissioners, acting as the local licensing authority 48 hours prior to serving alcoholic beverage on the optional premises. Such notice must contain the specific days and hours on which the optional premises are to be used. All previous resolutions of the Board of County Commissioners inconsistent herewith are repealed. The Board of County Commissioners finds, determines, and declares that this resolution is necessary and proper for protection of health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Lake County. This resolution shall become effective upon its adoption. And then it goes into the signature lines. So can you give us an example of how this will help and or apply to if changing any expectations of Ski Cooper or Mount Massive Golf Course? Is this on like vendors that come to provide alcohol?
Well, it's actually for the licensee, so it would flow from, you have a license already, and let's say, the way I would interpret it is Ski Cooper wanted to provide an alternate place beside the bar, if you will, for serving alcohol. That's where this will apply, that type of situation. And it's the only thing different are the code references, so it's really not anything new.
It's not a new.
It shouldn't be any surprise to them in terms of it's just under the new code that was adopted. So.
Okay. quick little question on D, section D, and number 2, a legal description of the approximate area within which the optional premises shall be located. Is that, I mean, like, are we talking the legal description of the parcel that's easily accessible, or like a,
Address?
I mean, how?
Yeah, that type of.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, a legal identification
Of
of
where
it,
it is.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Yeah, so
getting
that
into like a rabbit hole of like the quadrant of the whatever marker of.
Well,
That is
yeah,
where
and I think the intent there is so that there's some specificity of where it's being held. If you end up with someone who can draw on ski creepers, another good example of how many acres they have and stuff, not just to say, oh, it's gonna be on ski creeper property, but where, and I think that helps inform EMS and everybody else as to.
Like
Mm-hmm.
here on top of the front side slope.
Yeah, so legal description includes like GPS
Some-
points or
yes.
coordinates or whatever is like most descriptive
Yes.
to identify
Where it is.
the area.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. You know, they're not gonna have to do like a survey or something like that.
Okay,
for it.
all right. Thank you for that clarification. Any questions on, this resolution as read into the record from the board?
None for me, thank you.
None for me?
Right.
Alright, I will make a motion that we approve resolution 23-12 as read into the record.
Maybe
Second.
that's just friendly that you adopt.
Oh,
To approve
adopt,
it
that
to
we
adopt the
adopt
resolution.
resolution 23-12 as read into the record.
Okay, I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
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 Okay,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. And then 15?
Yeah, well, 13, yeah, so this is resolution 2023-13, and this is amending the prior resolution setting liquor and beer licensing application fees. And then these are pretty much set forth by statute, if you will. And so what you have is a simple resolution for that adopting the Exhibit A, which sets forth the different local licensing fees that will be paid for each type of license that somebody has, so. And I apologize that again, this is 2 pages of different fees and such.
Alrighty,
And
here we
I
go.
would say this is, yeah, the shortest.
All right, I'll read this into the record then. Okay, proposed resolution 23-3, an amended resolution setting liquor and beer licensing application fees. Whereas CRS 44-3501, a portion of the Colorado Liquor Code, the code, authorizes local licensing authorities to fix and collect application fees in amounts determined by CRS 44-3-501 to cover the actual and necessary expenses incurred in processing applications for licenses under the code. Whereas CRS 44-3-501, a portion of the code, identifies local licensing application fees to be paid to the treasurer of the municipality, city, or county where the licensed premises is located. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners wishes to fix and collect such fees and previously adopted Resolution 96-12, setting liquor and beer licensing application fees pursuant to then existing CRS 12-46-117, 12-47-135, and 12-48-107, which have been repealed and replaced by the code. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County, Colorado, the license fees shall be paid to the county treasurer at the time of the application for a license submitted under the code 44-3-505, which are attached as Exhibit A to hereunto and hereby adopted. Application fees enumerated in Exhibit A to this resolution shall be paid to the county to help defray actual and necessary expenses incurred by the county in processing applications, conducting required investigations, handling publication and posting requirements, and generally conducting public hearings related to the application. The county shall have the right to recover all sums due and owing hereunder by civic remedy available at law. All previous resolutions of the Board of County Commissioners inconsistent herewith are repealed. The Board of County Commissioners finds, determines, and declares that this resolution is necessary and proper for protection of the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Lake County, County of Lake. This resolution shall become effective upon its adoption.
And I don't believe you have to read all of Exhibit A since it's referenced in the resolution and it will be attached and recorded with it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to draw attention that it is two
Yeah,
pages that
I'm sorry, I
identifies
have
all the
to-
different things, yeah.
Okay. All right, I will not read into the record Exhibit A, but that is the Lake County liquor licensing fees, Exhibit A, and Exhibit B, or no, just
No.
A.
A,
Just
Just
A,
A.
sorry.
for this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of Resolution 23-13.
So moved.
And I'll second. Any further discussion?
Sorry, just
No.
slow on the mute button.
No problem.
No, thank you.
All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, and then moving on to agenda item 15, but resolution 23-14. Go ahead,
I think
Chris.
it's actually 16, isn't it?
12, 13.
No, but the agenda item is
Oh.
16, you just did 15.
Sorry,
So this
okay,
is-
so agenda
yeah.
item 16, resolution
16.
23-14.
Yeah, and so this is the original culprit, that led us to have to do all of these, updates to the code, the licensing, code that the county has adopted. This pertains to tasting permits, and, how this typically applies is you have licensed, liquor stores who want to allow patrons to taste product that they're either rolling out or have available. And it does, the state law does require a permit for that. And again, this resolution is triggered by changes to the code, updating those requirements. And so this resolution includes two exhibits, the first one being the Lake County Beer and Liquor Licensing Policies and Procedures concerning tasting permits, which is essentially restating the policies and procedures that have been adopted before, as well as Exhibit B, a tasting permit application. Clerk Lawrenson reviewed and in fact provided her requested application format for this as Exhibit B. So, to my knowledge, there were no substantive changes made to the policies and procedures and stuff. She was still comfortable with those being used.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm not, this is an annual or based on like an event?
It's an event, so it's
an
a
event.
tasting permit, yeah, it's for each tasting would have to be, they can't have a continuous tasting permit, it would have to be for each one.
Got it, thank you, okay. All right, I'll read, resolution 23-14 into the record. A resolution amending Lake County's beer and liquor licensing policies and procedures concerning tasting permits. Whereas the Colorado Liquor Code, CRS 44-3-101, the code provides the terms, conditions, and limitations concerning the manufacture and sale of malt, vinous, and spirituous liquors and for local licensing authorities, and whereas said statutes in the code set forth certain mandates for local licensing authorities, including the Lake County Liquor Licensing Authority, hereinafter Liquor Authority, and whereas CRS 44-3-301-10 provides that the Liquor Authority may adopt an ordinance or resolution authorizing tastings which are defined in the code as the sampling of malt, vinous, or spirituous liquors that may occur on the premises of a retail liquor store licensee or liquor license drugstore licensee by adult patrons of the licensee pursuant to the provisions of CRS 44-3-301-10. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County, Colorado, the board previously adopted Resolution 15-07 pertaining to beer and liquor licensing policies and procedures for tasting permits pursuant to then existing CRS 12-47-301-10, which has been repealed and replaced by the code. And whereas the board has contemporaneously adopted Resolution 23-12 and Resolution 23-13 concerning liquor licensing, which are both in full force and effect. And whereas the board also wishes to amend the county's policies and procedures pertaining to tasting permits to reflect the code, and whereas the board, which acts as the liquor authority, believes it to be in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Lake County to amend the local procedures governing the approval, suspension, and revocation of licenses for tasting permits within the unincorporated areas of the county. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lake, State of Colorado, the Lake County beer and liquor licensing policies and procedures concerning tasting permits, which have been revised to reflect updated code and are attached as Exhibit A, are hereby adopted. The tasting permit application with applicable fees and relevant statutes, which has been revised to reflect the updated code and is attached hereto as Exhibit B, is hereby adopted. Any licensee desirous of a tasting permit must comply with all sections of CRS 44-4-30110. The standards adopted herein shall be considered in addition to all other standards regarding the issuance of licenses under the Colorado Liquor Code. This resolution is intended to codify the authority granted to the Board by the Colorado Revised Statutes and the Code of the Colorado Regulations, and shall not dilute in any manner the authority granted to the board as set forth therein or as otherwise set forth in previous resolutions of the board. Lake County Resolution 23-12 and 23-13 remain in full force and effect and shall not be affected by this resolution. All previous resolutions of the Board of County Commissioners inconsistent herewith are repealed. The Board of County Commissioners finds, determines, and declares that this resolution is necessary and proper for the health, safety, and welfare of the County of Lake. This resolution shall become effective upon its adoption. Read, adopted, well, if we adopt, which, okay, and then it goes on to outline Exhibit A and Exhibit B, and it says see attached tasting permit application, which we need to have, I don't have,
I was gonna say
you
we
have
have
it
a hard copy,
too,
so
okay, great,
please, yes.
so that will be sure to be recorded together,
Right.
excellent. Any other questions for Chris on the final, resolution presented to us?
No, none for me, thank you.
Not for me.
All right, I don't have any either. I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of resolution 23-14 as prepared and read into the record.
So moved?
Second?
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Not for me.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, excellent, well,
Thank you all so much for that.
thank you for working
Thank you, Chris and
and
Liz.
preparing all that. Okay, sorry, that is the end of our agenda, right? Let me pull my
Yes, only
cards.
our consent agenda is left.
There it is, okay. Great, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved?
I'll second. And any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Okay, sorry, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
All right, thanks so much, everybody. At
Thank you.
2:04, we will adjourn.